Welcome to the Hawkins Observer, a podcast where two half-lifelong friends recap and analyze every episode of Stranger Things as we prepare for the release of the final season tomorrow, less than 24 hours away.
Yes, up until this point, we have recapped every episode of seasons 1, 2, and 3. However, we have run out of time to recap all of season 4 ahead of the release of season 5 tomorrow. So we are going to do something a little different to prepare you.
Tonight, in the presence of each other, we are going to give ourselves the challenge of reading the Netflix Stranger Things synopsis or episode synopsis. We are looking at it right now on the screen and giving ourselves 2 minutes to explain to you, the viewer, everything you need to know about that episode, given the synopsis that we're reading on the screen, so that you can know everything that you're missing from season 1 through season 4, so that you can join in season 5 tomorrow.
That's the challenge. I'll be timing us. So 2 minutes per episode. We're going to say everything we remember about that episode and catch you up to speed. So here we go. Seasons 1 through 4 of Stranger Things recap on the Hawkins Observer. All right.
If you haven't already, subscribe. Go back and watch all of, well, you don't have any time anymore, but at some point, go back and watch all of our season recaps, episode recaps.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to read the season 1, episode 1 recap, and then I will hit play, or I hit start on my timer. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1. The Vanishing of Will Byers. On his way home from a friend's house, young Will sees something terrifying. Nearby, a sinister secret lurks in the depths of a government lab. So we open in this place called Hawkins, Indiana. I don't think it's a real place, but it's like 1983 or 84.
83.
1983, that fall. And we see a scientist running through the hallways, and he's running from something, and he almost escapes into an elevator shaft, but whatever it was catches up with him and presumably kills him. From there, we're in the basement of these boys' house, and they're playing this game, Dungeons and Dragons. That's a key part of almost every episode because they're so young, they kind of process the real world through this game and relate the game to the world of what they're seeing, which makes sense. So in the basement, we've got Mike, Lucas, Dustin, and Will, 4 best friends playing the game. And after the game is over, it's time for them to go home. They're at Mike's house, so Mike's obviously staying there. The 3 boys ride their bikes home. But on the way, Will sees something at night and ends up having to ditch his bike and run through the woods to get to his house and avoid the creature or monster on the road. Runs home, runs in the house, tries to call, phone's not working, runs out back because there is a gun in the shed, and he pulls the gun, but whatever it was comes into the shed with him. The light goes bright, boom, lights out, no more Will. The next morning, they realize he's missing. He's not at school, which he's not a school skipper. So the 3 boys eventually are going to go looking for them themselves, even though they've been told not to. So the 3 boys set off the very next night to go look for their friend in the woods behind his house. They don't find him, they don't find Will, but they find a very scared, wet, young-looking child. I think that's all of season 1, episode
Joyce
1.
Byers, his mom, goes to
yes.
the police, and we meet Joyce Byers, Will's mom, and Jim Hopper, the police chief.
Yep. Whew, this is going to be hard.
All right. Chapter 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street. Lucas, Mike, and Dustin try to talk to the girl they found in the woods. Hopper questions an anxious Joyce about an unsettling phone call.
Ready? Play.
All right, so this girl that they meet in the woods, they hide her in Mike's basement, and Joyce is Will's mom, and Police Chief Hopper. Hopper does not necessarily believe Joyce about him being missing. Hopper kind of dismisses the whole thing like 99 times out of 100, a kid goes missing, he's with a relative. So Joyce is trying to convince Hopper that there's really actually something more going on here because Joyce suspects that there's just foul play. And this little girl does not really speak much. She says like one word at a time, and she doesn't really know the language very well. The phone rings at some point at Joyce's house, at the buyer's house, Will's house, and she hears something on the other end that's very disturbing, and I believe the phone is just fried.
Yep.
Like it's electricity surges or whatever, just like the electricity surged in the shed in the last episode. And Hopper is trying to get out of Joyce what she thinks she heard on the other end of that phone line, while the three boys are hiding this strange young girl. I believe in this episode as well, the young girl is welcomed in by a diner owner, and that diner owner thinks he's doing the right thing by calling Child Protection Services, and some people show up, I think, claiming to be like agents from CPS, but they are not, and they end up shooting this diner owner point blank. And this little girl, we find out, has a tattoo on her arm that says 011. They start calling her 11, and 11 escapes all of these agents at the diner by literally killing them all and escaping. And we understand that there is something seriously deeper than what we are led to believe about Will and the lab.
Yep. And that was my job, because that actually happens in episode 1.
Okay, so
she gets
all right.
caught eating food. But
that's okay. We are catching you up. So now we are on to season 1, chapter 3.
There's a dead guy now, and he used to own a restaurant.
Yep.
Chapter 3, Holly Jolly. An increasingly concerned Nancy looks for Barb and finds out what Jonathan's been up to. Joyce is convinced Will is trying to talk to her.
Who's Barb?
Well, okay, so Nancy is Mike's older sister. Holly is their younger sister.
Yep.
And Nancy and Barb are best friends, and they're kind of nerdy, but this really cute guy at school, Steve Harrington, has the hots for Nancy, and he invites them over to his house because his parents aren't going to be there, so it's going to be a pool party with just like 5 kids. Turns out Barb is the fifth wheel. They start drinking beer, and they talk Barb into trying it, but she goes to shotgun, cuts her finger, goes to the bathroom, wraps it up. Steve pushes Nancy in the pool meanwhile, so she gets soaking wet. But then Nancy goes inside to change clothes out of her wet clothes, and she tells Barb, just go home. Like, I'm just going to stay with Steve for a little while. So Barb's getting ditched. Barb hangs out outside, and part of her blood drops into the pool. And in the woods, unbeknownst to her, is Will's older brother, Jonathan. He was taking pictures of the woods where Will went missing, hoping to find some clues. He ends up taking a picture of the kids at the pool party. A little creepy, but he also takes a picture of sad Barb on the diving board. Thinks nothing of it, hears some screams, whatever. What else happens during this episode? So the next morning, Barb we see her, but she's spitting something out of her mouth, and she's not in our world anymore. She's in the pool, but it's full of vines, not water, and there's a monster in there with her. However, back at Joyce's actual house, she believes that Will is somehow nearby and communicating with her through electricity. So she starts looking at the lamp. She hangs up Christmas lights. She spells the alphabet on the wall, hoping that Will will activate the lights. And she ends up asking him, "Are you safe?" He says, "No." She says, "How do I find you?" And Will spills out, "Run."
So far, so good.
Okay.
All right. What have we forgotten? We'll find out. Chapter 4 of season 1, The Body. Refusing to believe that Will is dead, Joyce tries to connect with her son. The boys give 11 a makeover. Nancy and Jonathan form an unlikely alliance. Okay, so refusing to believe Will is dead, Joyce does not believe that Will is dead. Everybody else in the community, it's well known that he's missing. They all think that he's probably dead. Hopper is now really concerned. Joyce has convinced him that there's something else going on, but Joyce is probably the only one who actually believes that Will is actually still around, because she does believe that he's communicating through this electricity. So she tries to connect with him through these lights. I think this is maybe the episode where the no and run happens. It doesn't really matter because Joyce is convinced, and she's trying to convince Hopper that Will is not really dead.
Oh, in that episode, something actually does come out of the wall. That's where we see a monster come out of the wall at Joyce's house.
Yes.
When Will says run.
Okay, so then the boys give Eleven a makeover because she's got this shaved head. She barely looks like a girl, but I think they're going to take her outside of the house for the first time. And so they put her in a dress. She says she looks pretty. It's a cute scene. And then Nancy and Jonathan form an unlikely alliance because Steve Harrington, Nancy's boyfriend, is kind of a D-bag to Jonathan because he's just a jock. It's kind of his role, but also because he finds Jonathan's pictures that he took of their party. And one of them is of Nancy's shirtless body through a window, which is, again, can't really defend Jonathan there. But Jonathan and Nancy's a good person, and she kind of comes to Jonathan's defense a little bit by helping him pick up all these pictures that Steve ripped on the floor. But in doing that, Nancy finds this picture of Barb, and she finds something in the background that might be an answer to where Barb is. And so she asks Jonathan to kind of help her redevelop this photo to get more clear shot of what she thinks may be in the background behind Barb.
Up until this point, Jonathan thought his mom was going crazy.
Yes.
Describing a faceless monster. Nancy meets Jonathan at a funeral home, and Nancy's describing having seen something too. And Jonathan goes, "Was it faceless?" And Nancy's like, "How did you know that?"
Yeah.
That's when they form this alliance. Like, maybe this monster is real.
Okay.
Chapter 5, The Flea and the Acrobat. Hopper breaks into the lab while Nancy and Jonathan confront the force that took Will. The boys ask Mr. Clark how to travel to another dimension. Okay, so Hopper had broken into the morgue because Joyce was convinced it's not Will. They found Will's body. That's why it's called the body. They found Will's body floating in the quarry. Looked dead. Found his body. Joyce goes the next morning to identify her son, and she storms out of the morgue, goes, "That's not my son. I don't know what you think that is." So later that night, Hopper breaks into the morgue first, punches out a guard, and he cuts the cadaver open, and it turns out it's not a real body. It was not actually Will. It was a dummy or whatever.
Yep.
So the next morning, Hopper breaks into the Hawkins lab because he knows they're up to something no good. He caught them in a lie, and he ends up seeing a fleshy wall that's alive. It looks like a moldy spider problem that's alive. Bizarre. And he gets caught eventually because he breaks in past some guards. He gets caught. Okay, Nancy and Jonathan confront the force that take Will. So now Nancy and Jonathan believe there is a monster out here, so they go out into the woods to start searching for themselves. And at the tail end of the episode, Nancy finds another glowing, fleshy-looking thing, kind of like Hopper is just seen in the lab. And Nancy actually, it's at the base of a tree, and Nancy actually climbs through the bottom of this tree and ends up in a different dimension. After they have a funeral for Will, even though Joyce doesn't believe he's dead, after the funeral, the boys ask their favorite teacher, Mr. Clark, who runs like the audio-visual. He's the nerd. He bought them this...
Science teacher.
He bought them this radio, this ham radio they can play with. They talk about how could we travel to another dimension. And he gives this image of a flea and an acrobat. The acrobat can only go one way, but the flea can go upside down things. Then they start talking about how it requires a lot of energy to make it to an upside down type dimension, but he doesn't rule it out. He feeds their curiosity.
Yes. Something that we need to fill in the gaps with. This girl with the 11 tattoo is being hidden by the kids and everything, but they find out that she has some of these psionic abilities. We don't really know why. There is some speculation as to maybe she was the child of a lady who was I think we know by this point that she was the child of a lady who had been like LSD experiments and all this stuff at the lab. But the boys think that she can help them find Will. And so all along, she's kind of given off the impression that she can help them find Will, that she can speak with Will, that she can communicate with him, or at least help locate them. But the boys are split in how they trust Eleven.
And she also communicated early on that she's in trouble hiding from the bad men, whereas Will is hiding from what she calls the Demogorgon. She picks up one of their D&D pieces called
Yes.
Demogorgon. And so she's hiding from bad men. Will's hiding from a monster.
Yes, and I think by this point too, they start to call this other dimension the Upside Down.
Yes.
Because 11 demonstrates it by flipping over their D&D board.
Yep.
To say
yes.
it's like a dimension that's like ours, but
Parallel
it's
to ours, but
upside down.
yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we're getting there. Chapter 6, The Monster. A frantic Jonathan looks for Nancy in the darkness, but Steve's looking for her too. Hopper and Joyce uncover the truth about the lab's experiments. So at the end of the last episode, just like he said, Nancy finds her way curiosity-wise through this portal in this tree, and she's now in the Upside Down. She sees the Demogorgon monster feeding on like a deer or something. But it's like this toxic environment with all this particulate in the air, and it's dark and shadowy and echoey. She finally does escape that. Jonathan kind of goes in after her, but she reaches her arm out and he pulls her to safety. It freaks them both out like crazy. And Hopper and Joyce uncover the truth about the lab's experiments, just like we talked about with this LSD experiments and everything. They kind of start putting together. There's a conspiracy theory out there that goes against the official story, but there was all these experiments done on these subjects that they were paid and everything, but it produced a lot of
Lawsuits even.
And at every turn, the lab and the doctors there, Dr. Brenner being the main one, they get out of it one way or another. But Hopper and Joyce are now kind of starting to believe the conspiracy theory as the truth because of what the rumors are and everything about going around.
And why are they hiding Will's body?
Exactly.
Or why are they doing a cover-up?
And there's an elaborate scheme they go through to do that by sending the official coroner in the town of Hawkins home, and so all these guys from state come to do the autopsy, which obviously they're not. They're just covering this all up, and they're lying about security footage and all this stuff. So they're starting to believe the unofficial conspiracy story. And the boys are also kind of skeptical of Eleven's ability to find Will because she leads them just back to the Byers' house. And they're like, we thought that you could help us find Will. And she's kind of confused by that.
Yep. Okay. Chapter 7, The Bathtub. 11 struggles to reach Will, while Lucas warns that the bad men are coming. Nancy and Jonathan show the police what Jonathan caught on camera. Whew. Okay. What does this mean? So, for some reason, 11 can use like sensory deprivation to, in essence, go into this void area, kind of like the Upside Down, but it's her place where she can not necessarily spy, but she can see where other people are no matter where they are if she puts her mind to it while she's in this sensory deprivation. But I don't remember why she's having a hard time reaching Will.
Because she's not in the sensory deprivation yet.
Okay.
She's just trying to use like TV static and stuff.
That's right. How did Joyce and Hopper eventually meet 11? That I don't remember. How did this whole picture come about? Like, when did our stories collide? Was it in this episode where finally the kids tell these adults what's going on?
I don't remember how 11 comes to Joyce and the Byers' house.
Yeah. So Nancy and Jonathan show the police what Jonathan caught on camera. Oh, so Jonathan gets in a fight. They go to the police station, and Jonathan's like, "You're not going to believe it." And Hopper's like, "Try me." And Jonathan and Hopper have a heart-to-heart, and I think that's when they get on the same page about something paranormal happening.
Yeah, because Jonathan gets in a fight with Steve Harrington.
But only Jonathan gets caught for it.
Yes.
Then what happens? Because Jonathan and Nancy are convinced, I think by this point, that Will has gone missing in this upside down realm.
Yeah.
And they kind of want to find Will themselves and kill that monster because
Yeah.
I think it also possibly Barb is still alive in the Upside Down.
And when Eleven can't reach Will through the kind of rudimentary means, she remembers all of the experiments that were done on her in the lab, and suggests that if she had enough water, like a bathtub, that she could. And so
A float tank.
the boys
essentially.
call Scott Clark about a sensory deprivation tank, and they end up stealing a bunch of salt from the schools.
And this is
salt
Joyce's
stores.
only lead at this point. Here's this
Yeah.
psionic girl that my kids met, or that the boys met, that says she knows where Will is. So Joyce at this point's desperate to find Will. So they're like, okay, let's give this girl what she thinks
Yep.
she wants or needs.
So they roll out a bathtub and a bunch of salt in the gymnasium at the school, and she tries to make contact with Will, or does, through her sensory. All right, sensory deprivation. Chapter 8, the finale of season 1. Oh, we're there already.
Wow. That was so easy.
Chapter 8, The Upside Down. Dr. Brenner holds Hopper and Joyce for questioning while the boys wait with Eleven in the gym. Back at Will's, Nancy and Jonathan prepare for battle. So part of Hopper's plan, because he's a real cop, is to break into the lab so that they will get caught. And so that he can make a kind of plea bargain or a kind of deal with them that he won't expose all the stuff that they know about the lab, and the lab will let Eleven go.
Or is this about Will? Does he break in, like leave the kid alone, leave Eleven alone and give us Will? Or what does he suspect the lab knows where Will is at this point?
I don't think so. I think he just wants I don't know about the thing with Will. But he gets tortured and ends up with this deal. Back at Will, so they're in the gym, and Eleven is just kind of laying low, and they're kind of hiding her. And Mike and Eleven share a little smoochy smooch, which is cute. They're becoming an item. But the bad men from the lab are also after the boys and Eleven because they've spied on their radios and other types of communication, so they know that Eleven is with these boys. And back at Will's, Nancy and Jonathan have a plan to lure the Demogorgon to the house so that they can
That's right.
flame it or kind of burn it. And this is the last episode of the season. So in 30 seconds, they find Barb. She's dead in the Upside Down. They find Will as well. And he's got this like tentacle thing that's like drawing his life force out of him. He had been hiding in Castle Byers, his little backyard fort, this whole episode. But Joyce and Hopper find Will. They pull this thing out of him and they save him. We also learned that Hopper had a very tragic death of his daughter that he's wrestling with this whole time. Eleven ends up escaping the bad men by literally just killing them all with her mind. And then she is confronted with the Demogorgon, the big bad monster of this season, in the school. She banishes the Demogorgon with her mind, and then she disappears. We don't know where she is.
Yep.
And the kids end up, Steve with the spiked bat also takes some swings at the Demogorgon. Then, at the end of the episode, all seems to be right, although Will is coughing up this slug thing in the bat. Like, he's obviously not over it all. And Hopper gets in a unmarked black car that we have seen, like, from the lab.
Yeah, he sure does. So that makes sense. I'm remembering this as we talk about this out loud again, because it's been a minute. Hopper says to Brenner and people at the lab, "You're going to give us what we want," because they want permission to go into the Upside Down to find Will.
Yes.
That's why they break in, because they're looking for Will.
Because Joyce and Hopper go to the Upside Down.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
All right. So relationally, we have Steve and Nancy, and they break up because Nancy is so consumed with finding Will and all of this, and Steve is still just kind of but Steve kind of grows up a little bit. Jonathan starts to kind of have a love interest with Jonathan. Jonathan confronts his dad, who's estranged, and they have a little, a moment where Jonathan stands on his own 2 feet as a man. Relationally as well, Mike and Eleven are kind of developing a thing for each other. And I think.
I'll speak to the supernatural elements now. Obviously, there's monsters involved, and they're finding their way from the Upside Down into the town of Hawkins through these various portals and things in the wall. Again, they glow, sometimes red. They have vines. It's fleshy and mucusy looking. And so in this last episode, one broke through and was in the school hunting everybody down. And it even looked like it killed Dr. Brenner. And it was about to kill all of the boys. But 11 used whatever mystery supernatural power she has to essentially either kill this monster or send it back to its dimension. But in the process, she also disappears or dies or something. That's what we're left with.
We also learn, very important to the plot, that we see lots of flashbacks of 11 in the lab when she was younger, before she escaped. And she was being subjected to all of these tests where Dr. Brenner was trying to get her to do certain things to kind of expand her abilities and to kind of push herself to use her powers for greater and greater things. One of the things that he has her do is so frightening to her, confronting the Demogorgon in this void, that she screams in fear in the sensory deprivation tank that she's in. And in the real world, again, this is a flashback, in the real world, she opens a gate or this portal to the Upside Down for the first time that we know of. And that main gate that she opened during that experiment is what the Demogorgon is using to get back and forth. It's also what Joyce and Hopper used to get in and out of the Upside Down. And it's at this point uncontrolled, unrestricted. It is just a big, scary opening to this thing that 11 opened. So that's season 1.
Yeah, that's
right?
In a nutshell, really. I don't know where that phrase came from,
so,
nutshells, but...
Our 2 minutes is expanding a little bit. That's okay, because this is for you. This isn't for us. This is for you.
We already know what we're
All right, I'll start off season 2. Just 1 year later in 2017, chapter 1, Mad Max. As the town preps for Halloween, a high-scoring rival shakes things up at the arcade, and a skeptical Hopper inspects a field of rotting pumpkins.
Start.
So here we are 1 year later, essentially, and Will is still not 100% okay with all of the stuff that he went through in the last season, although they are now playing arcade games a lot at the local arcade, and one of their favorite games is a new high score. Somebody named Mad Max they don't know. They meet Mad Max, and she is this girl from California. We meet her total loser brother. Loser's a bad word for him. A word I probably won't say on YouTube. But we see Will going to the lab in Hawkins now, not scary lab, but more like medical lab, where they're doing tests on him because he's having these episodes. One of the episodes he has in the very first part of this episode is he sees a lightning red flash kind of flashback where he is back in the Upside Down in his vision, and he sees a gigantic, like 1,000-foot tall swirling spider monster, and he's immediately flashed back to the real world. And so we don't know what the heck is going on inside of his head, but he is not right. And part of these episodes are messing with his mind so much that they are taking him to the lab. Joyce and Hopper collectively kind of take him as the parental, even though Joyce and Hopper aren't together. And we meet a new Dr. Owens, who now is kind of a good guy at the lab, or at least we're led to believe that. And the boys are kind of obsessed with this new girl, Max, because she's not like them. She's kind of standoffish, and she's really good at their favorite arcade game. I don't know about Steve and Nancy in this episode.
Either.
But...
Pumpkins?
Yes. So somebody calls we also meet a investigator named Murray, who just thinks that the Russians are involved with everything and behind everything. Hopper's not giving him the time of day. And one of the things that he does is he goes investigates this call that they got about a farmer losing all of his crop of pumpkins, and he uses that as an excuse to get away from Murray. But then he's actually intrigued.
Chapter 2, Trick or Treat, Freak. After Will sees something terrible on Trick or Treat night, Mike wonders whether Eleven's still out there, and Nancy wrestles with the truth about Barb. Start. Only one. Okay. So we'll see something terrible. So the boys get to go trick or treating, but Will is only allowed to go if Jonathan goes with him. And Jonathan's like, fine, I'll take them. And Joyce is dating a new guy named Bob Newby, and he's got one of these new gizmos called a VHS recorder. Yep. So Bob gives that to Jonathan as if to say, tape the 4 boys on their trick or treating. So they get to trick or treating, and Jonathan's like, look, be back here an hour and I'll let you go by yourself, because Will's being very overprotected now by his mom since everything that's happened the past year. So they get to go trick-or-treating by themselves. While they're walking down the street, Will is using the camcorder. Some older kids come up to him and scare him wearing very scary Halloween masks, and they call him a freak because everyone thinks he's a freak because he's back from the dead. Everyone thought he was dead. He came back to life. Something about that, them scaring him triggers a flashback, or he goes into an episode where he is in the Upside Down again, and there's that thing in the sky, and this time it actually comes for him, and he runs around a house and hides. Then the boys find him hiding, and they know something's wrong and that he's had another episode. Max ended up joining them. They invited her to go trick-or-treating, but she didn't say yes, but then she ends up just kind of crashing for fun. Dustin and Lucas are so excited she's there. Mike does not like her. He doesn't like her being around for some reason. We don't know yet. Mike's thoughts are still wondering if 11 is dead or where she is in the world. Okay, Nancy wrestling the truth about Barb. Nancy's starting to feel guilty because that night she just told Barb, like, hey, now that we're here, I think Steve wants to show me his bedroom. So why don't you go on home? And that's probably what got Barb killed. Nancy being a beep.
Steve and Nancy are still together, but they're not doing well. And they also meet Barb's parents who admit to Steve and Nancy over dinner that they are pretty much mortgaging their house onto this private investigator named Murray, who we've already met, to try to get to the bottom of what's happened. And Nancy can't take it because she knows what happened to Barb. She's actually dead, and she can't tell them.
Yep.
And Steve and Nancy fall out at a party.
Oh, yeah.
Chapter 3, The Pollywog. Dustin adopts a strange new pet, and 11 grows increasingly impatient. A well-meaning Bob urges Will to stand up for his fears. Okay, so what happened to 11 at the end of last episode? She was out doing survival training in the woods involuntarily, and Hopper was feeding her Eggo waffles and such. And we find out that actually Hopper found 11, and 11 kind of revealed herself to Hopper, and Hopper is kind of raising 11 in his cabin remote in the woods, way out there in the woods. And so 11 is very impatient because she's being told she can't leave, she can't open the blinds, none of this stuff, and she's very impatient about leaving the house because she wants to find Mike and she wants to be around her friends, but Hopper won't let her because of safety, which is probably the right move. At the end of the Halloween episode, Dustin hears something in his trash can, and he goes to open it, and he curses, and then he finds out it's a little pollywog thing about that big, similar to what Will has coughed up in the bathroom at the end of last season. But he takes it and puts it in his terrarium in his room. And Bob tells Will that all these episodes and everything are unfortunate, but that Bob also used to have nightmares, and Bob used to tell the clown, what was the name of the clown?
Baldo.
Mr. Baldo the clown in his nightmares when he was a kid, that to just go away. He would just say, just go away, stand your ground, and tell this thing to go away.
Yep.
And Will's like, oh, I could actually do that. And so Will kind of puts that in the back of his mind. Next time I have an episode, maybe I'll try that. And so Bob is very well-meaning in this. Bob is a great guy. And so 11's impatient at the house. Dustin has this new weird, strange, we don't really know what it is, kind of pet, but it is probably scary. And Bob has new advice for Will about standing up. Oh, in the last episode too, or maybe in this one, Steve and Nancy go to a party. Nancy gets absolutely wasted drunk and kind of halfway admits to Steve that maybe she doesn't actually love him. And Steve confronts Nancy about that. And so they have a bit of a rift in their relationship.
They sure did.
Excuse me. Whoa.
Okay. Chapter 4, Will the Wise. An ailing Will opens up to Joyce with disturbing results. While Hopper digs for the truth, 11 unearths a surprising discovery. Gosh, these are not that helpful.
I know what 11's surprising discovery is.
They're definitely not doing too many spoilers here. So, I don't know if I...
Okay, I can take this one.
Give me.
The Will opens up to Joyce because they're taking him in for all these tests, and he tells her it's like he knows what the shadow monster is doing.
Oh,
I think
yes.
at this point, Will has been possessed by the shadow monster.
Okay.
Because
that happened on the field
it
already?
happens on the field already because they can't...
No, it doesn't.
No.
That happens when they're looking for the Pollywog at school.
Okay.
I don't know when that happens.
The spy, the next... Okay.
Yep.
So, he opens up to Joyce with disturbing results.
Yeah, I don't remember what that means.
Hopper digs for the truth. Hopper's still very concerned about these pumpkins, and he's trying to figure out why the rotting pumpkins are everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Why
A second
trees are
pumpkin
dying.
farmer comes
Yes.
to the police station and says, now this guy's I didn't poison his pumpkins, but
Yeah.
he poisoned mine, and everybody else is in town as a form of retribution or whatever.
All along this episode, Will has been scribbling these crazy drawings,
Yep.
and they realize that... I don't know time-wise, but they realize that these all kind of connect.
Uh-huh.
And then while 11 is bored at the cabin, she finds some files and starts to learn about the conspiracy theories that Hopper and Joyce learned about in the last season about a little girl being kidnapped away from her mom and these mind control experiments and all this kind of stuff. And 11 starts to put some pieces together that this missing girl might be her. And Hopper's not really hiding it from her, but he's also not revealing it to her. But 11 finds this out about Terry Ives.
Terry Ives.
And her daughter Jane, and she realizes she might be.
Okay, I've dropped the ball on that one. Good job.
We'll get there. Chapter 5, Dig Dug. Nancy and Jonathan swap conspiracy theories with a new ally.
Murray.
As 11 searches for someone from her past, Bob the Brain tackles a difficult problem. Okay. Nancy and Jonathan find Murray somehow. How do they find Murray?
I think from Barb's parents, maybe?
Yes. Barb's parents give her the business card from Murray Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
They find him, and they go to his hangar little compound thing in Illinois, and tell Murray what they know. They snuck into the lab and recorded Dr. Sam Owens explaining this portal wall and how they can't let this truth out
Right.
about Will going missing and Barb being dead because of the Soviets potentially stealing this technology or whatever. And Nancy and Jonathan just want to get the truth out, but they realized by explaining this to Murray that Murray actually says, well, if you just go forward with all of the truth as it actually is, nobody will believe you because it's too crazy. You have to water it down. And also Murray totally pegs Nancy and Jonathan's relationship
Chemistry.
and their chemistry, and Nancy and Jonathan don't want to admit it, but they have a great time at Murray's house. Then 11 goes...
She runs away.
She runs away and goes to find her mom.
Her biological mom. She's
Yep.
looking for her now.
And gets let in a little bit on her mom's life with these mind control experiments, but her mom is totally catatonic. Has been kind of made a vegetable.
Yep.
Bob is being kind of shunned from the Byers house because they've filled the Byers house walls with this crazy drawing that Will has done. That
And Joyce hasn't told him what happened last year.
It connects everywhere. Bob doesn't have any idea what happened to Will last year, but there's these pictures all over the wall. Joyce is not going to let Bob in the house, but then she's telling Bob that Will's just sick. But then Bob is like, well, I brought these brain teasers. I thought maybe they would help him. They helped me when I was sick as a kid. Joyce is like, light bulb. Bob is really good at puzzles. Maybe he can tell us what's going on with all these drawings. She lets him in, doesn't tell him anything about what's happening.
Bob, don't judge us.
Don't ask any questions.
Yep.
And Bob quickly puts together that all of these drawings that they put all over the house is actually a map of Hawkins because of the where tunnels are, or where lakes are and rivers are, and different landmarks. Bob figured that out.
Yep. Ooh, The Spy.
Chapter 6.
Will's connection to a shadowy evil grows stronger, but no one's quite sure how to stop it. Elsewhere, Dustin and Steve forge an unlikely bond. Okay. I think it's at about this point where the little pollywog that Dustin had been growing grew out of control, and it actually ended up eating Dustin's cat. So Dustin traps it in a basement, a cellar out back, and he tells Steve, you have to come over. I've done something bad. And Steve's like big brother mode. He just steps up and like, what's the problem? I'll solve it. Comes over, and they both find out that this thing that Dustin had, this pollywog, actually burrowed out through the back of the cellar and is now gone. And they suspect they hear it roaring in the woods somewhere. At some point in this season, possibly the last episode, the end, or the beginning of this, so at one point, Dustin had brought this little pollywog to school because he was going to show their science teacher, Mr. Clark. And he showed all the other kids, Mike and Lucas, and I don't think they let Max see it for a second. And Dustin wants credit for it, finding this thing. It's a new creation, new critter for science. But it gets lost. It runs away from them and runs into the school. So they all go looking for it. Dustin actually finds it, but hides it because he's worried they're going to want to kill it or destroy it. But he hides it when they're all looking for it. But that's when Lucas alerts them that something is wrong with Will out on the field. They go outside, and Will is in a trance. We can't tell what's happening to him, but in the Upside Down, he's essentially being possessed by this shadowy monster. It's as if it's like infiltrating his soul and just taking over his mind and control of his body. And they can't wake him up in the real world because he's in the process of being possessed.
And then once he does kind of come out of that trance, now he's connected to the shadow monster, and so he's throughout the episode, again, timeline-wise, I don't really know where we are, but for sure, he is able to kind of sense what the shadow monster, which they end up kind of explaining later. I think we get it here in the next episode after the 7, but Will can kind of sense what's happening with this shadow monster, and he can feel it, and it's like...
he can feel when it's close to, even physically, to him.
Yeah.
Now, when it's planning something or doing something.
Yep. All right, Chapter 7, The Lost Sister. Nothing that we've said so far matters at all to this episode. Chapter 7, The Lost Sister. Psychic visions draw 11 to a band of violent outcasts and an angry girl with a shadowy past. Okay, so season 2 opens with this random scene in Pittsburgh of a bunch of criminals escaping in a van, and we find out that there's a girl with this band of criminals who has a 008 tattoo, just like 11's tattoo, and she allows them to escape by controlling what the cops that are chasing them see in their mind. So 11's curiosity voyage of trying to find her mom works, and she does find her mom and everything, but in that vision she realizes that there might be more to the story about these other kids that were there in the lab. So she finds through her void vision this dark complected girl who was with her in the rainbow room at the lab as a little kid, and she goes searching for this girl that she suspects might know a little bit more about her and so forth, and she finds her in Chicago, and she is tempted by this other girl. When they meet, they're like sisters, but the other girl's named Kali. She's number 8, and she kind of tempts 11 through this episode to lean into her anger and her hate and all of these negative feelings, to kind of use them for vengeance and revenge against the people who did them wrong. And she is confronted, 11 is confronted later in the episode with the opportunity to kill a man in cold blood in front of his family as an act of this revenge. And Kali, number 8, is like, you have to do this. You have to help us, and you have to do this for yourself. And 11 is like, I don't think I can do that. And eventually just essentially says, I'm not going to help you carry out all this revenge and this vengeance. And Kali's like, you need to follow us because nobody in the real world can help you. You and me are not able to lead a normal life. So you need to stay with us because they can't help you back in Hawkins. And 11 says, you're right, they can't help me, but I can help them, because she sees in a vision that stuff in Hawkins is going south very quickly. And so 11 leaves the temptation to this life of revenge and vigilante justice to go back to Hawkins to help her friends. And hopefully that's the last we see of Kali. No, I'm just kidding. I love that episode.
Yeah, it's such a departure. It's a departure because we're in a different city than Hawkins, and it's just like
we're in a big city, and nothing looks the same. And 11 now has this weird goth look, but 11 grows a lot in that episode, realizing who she actually is and what the moral compass inside of her is pointing toward.
Yeah.
Because it is not pointing toward hate and revenge like it is for Kali.
That's right.
She was beaten to the punch by people like Mike and Hopper, showing her empathy and love and friendship and promise and faithfulness.
Yeah.
And Kali just wants her to be this bloodthirsty, revenge-seeking machine.
Superhero. Well, Chapter 8 is called The Mind Flayer, which again is another D&D reference to something that can control your mind. An unlikely hero steps forward when a deadly development puts the Hawkins lab on lockdown, trapping Will and several others on the inside. Whew.
Now, we got to talk about the tunnels at some point.
Okay, so Will has this other episode. They take him to the lab, to the hospital, to the doctors, and even there you can see his mind is just kind of split between his actual self and kind of being possessed by this mind flayer. And so they're very concerned about him, but while he's there, they find out that he's doing the work of the Mind Flayer. He's essentially spying on everybody else on behalf of the Mind Flayer. And so that they're going to send some soldiers down into these tunnels to this hub where they think the activity is taking place, and hopefully put a stop to it with their flamethrowers. But Will actually senses what they're doing, and the Mind Flayer sends out his army of these monsters. We now call them demo dogs, because what Dustin was raising acted a little bit like a dog on four legs for a little while, but that was like its next last phase, because eventually these things can stand up, they can crawl, they can climb. So anyway, from inside the hospital, Will tells the Mind Flayer what's going on. The Mind Flayer has all of these demo dogs start charging through the tunnels of Hawkins, underneath tunnels in the upside down, and they essentially wipe out this first army of men trying to beat them to the punch. So these demo dogs kill them. Then the demo dogs come up the rift or the gate, and they start invading the actual lab. So they are no longer in the upside down, they are in the lab, and they start running everywhere and killing everything in sight. And between them all, they come up with a plan to get out, and it's up to Bob Newby, the superhero, to turn the electricity back on and open all of the doors because they're in lockdown, and it's up to him to get everybody out based on the locked doors.
But in this episode, Bob doesn't make it.
Bob doesn't make it.
He does everything he's supposed to do. He gets the breakers back on, the electricity. He lets everybody else escape. He's the last one to try to get out, and he is overcome by the demo dogs in the lobby in front of Joyce.
Joyce watches it happen. Yep.
Crazy. And they put Will in a kind of medically induced coma, kind of like tranquilizing him, because they realize that as long as Will is awake and alert and hearing what people are saying, he's kind of communicating this through his mind to the Mind Flayer. And so they put him out so that they can...
So he doesn't know where he is, or he's not awake enough to let the Mind Flayer spy through him.
Yep. Okay. I think they also try in that episode to get Will
I think that's coming up.
I think Chapter 9, The Gate. 11 makes plans to finish what she started while the survivors turn up the heat on the monstrous force that's holding Will hostage. So at some point, they blindfold Will. They put him in a room, the shed at the Byers house.
Oh, yeah.
They put tarps up everywhere, and they're trying to communicate with Will through the mind flayer. Like they're trying to say, like they're trying to get to the real Will, and not let the mind flayer know what's going on. But Will is he's indignant that they're doing this because he is so angry as the mind flayer that they are capturing him. He doesn't know where he is, and so through all of this, Will is tapping on the side of their chair, and they translate the Morse code that he's using to close gate. They realize that he's trying to say close gate. So the only thing that Will is able to communicate is the Morse code, because everything he's saying out of his mouth is, "Let me go. You know, you shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have, you know, what did they do that they shouldn't have done?" It angered him.
What did they do? Was it heat and cold related?
That's coming up. But anyway, whatever they did to the mind flayer, they shouldn't have done it, and so Will is very angry about that. But this is the final seasons or the final episode, so the kids try to lure the demo dogs to the junkyard, but the demo dogs run through the tunnels, and because 11 comes back, and they are going to try to extract the mind flayer from Will on one side of Hawkins, while Hopper takes 11 to Hawkins' lab to close the gate. Because under Hawkins' lab, this gate is massive. It's way bigger than we ever thought it was. The demo dogs have been running rampant through these tunnels that kind of coalesce at the gate. So while Will is at Hopper's cabin now because he found out where he was in the shed at the Byers house, but now they are using the knowledge of the mind flayer that he likes it cold, and they are turning up the heat in the
they lit a
Hopper's
fire.
cabin. They lit a fire. They're using all these space heaters, and they're literally just trying to burn the mind flayer out of Will's body by using extreme heat. It's not going to hurt Will, but it will extract the mind flayer.
Right.
So it actually ends up working. Nancy pokes Will with a red hot prod from the fire, and he almost kills Joyce. But the mind flayer comes out of Will, kind of exorcism style. Right as 11 is closing the gate, the mind flayer escapes back into the Upside Down. 11 closes the gate with her newfound confidence and energy that she got from Kali, looking like a total BA. She's got both of her hands up, and she's closing the gate. The gate closes underneath the lab. Will is kind of back to himself, and
all the demo dogs die. They have this hive mind theory that if you can kill the head or you kill the body. So they're like, if we can close the gate, all of this evil that's happening in our world will die.
Yep.
There won't be representatives of this evil in our world if we can close the gate, because there won't be that portal.
Exactly. So all is right in the supernatural world. The episode ends at the snowball at the school. 11 shows up. Her and Mike dance. Dustin can't find a dancing partner. Nancy dances with him. It's so cute. Max and 11 now are together. Max we barely talked about Max.
Wait, Max and Lucas.
Max, what did I say?
11.
Max and 11 become friends in season 3. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But Max and Lucas are now together, and all seems to be right with the world. But then the episode ends with Hawkins Middle School being turned literally upside down, and the mind flayer is still very much over top of the school. And so everything is not so right with the world like we thought.
No, it's not.
Cheese and crackers. This is hard.
Yes, it is. It should get easier because these episodes we've watched a little more recently than way back when.
Yeah, but more happens too. So
It
2 minutes is, we're not going to be able to do the final episode of season 4 in 2 minutes. Here we go.
I don't think we've missed anything. I think we've hit all the key points.
I think so.
11 feels justified now that she closed this gate that she accidentally opened.
Let's talk about Billy for a second, which we barely discussed. Billy is Max's sister. They came from California. Max
He
is
has
Billy.
very long hair.
Billy is Max's brother.
Uh-huh.
And Max is kind of standoffish. She doesn't really like being in Hawkins. But Billy is a total, like, the worst kind of person. And
We find out they're stepbrothers or
Stepbrother and sister.
sibling. Yeah,
Yep.
so they don't like each other as a result of this.
yeah, and Billy doesn't like anything.
Yep.
And Billy's like the super cool kid at school, super athletic, really good looking. But Max kind of becomes a part of the official party with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
But Billy is just, he's racist. He's like
He's so mean to her.
too cool for school, literally. But he has a really even worse father, which we learn is kind of abusive to him.
Yep.
Kind of explains who he is as a person. But those two especially become more important in season 3.
That's true.
So they don't play a huge role in season 2, but Max and Billy you have to know because of what's going to happen in season 3.
It's from, their parents are together now, or they're
Max's mom and Billy's dad.
Billy's dad, yep. And yeah, Billy, part of the reason Billy is such a mean person is we see and feel for him this much when we see the way his dad
Yes.
actually treats him. We're like, oh, that's why you're a jerk to everybody else, because your dad's so mean.
And
to
he's
you.
not only mean, he's also dangerous. Like
Yeah.
he's driving his car super fast. He's like smoking,
Yeah.
drinking, partying. He's just the worst.
flirting.
All the ends.
All right, season 3, chapter 1. Susie, do you copy? Summer brings new jobs and budding romance, but the mood shifts when Dustin's radio picks up a Russian broadcast and Will senses something is wrong. Okay. This season is the one that starts in Russia, isn't it?
Yep.
So we open up in Russia and we see a lab and we see a giant gun pointed at a wall, a laser, and they're apparently trying to reopen some sort of gate. Doesn't go well, laser explodes, and anyone nearby it actually just dissolves into particles.
Yeah.
There was an observation area, and 2 scientists and some Russian military folks walked down to observe what had just happened. The main scientist is like, we're going to get it, don't worry. He gets killed by the Russian strangler. The military commander tells the younger scientist, you have 1 year. And then end scene. Russia? What? Okay, so back in Hawkins, everything feels really great because now it's actually summertime, not the fall. First time we've had a season open in the summer. Dustin is coming back from summer camp and he's like on the radio, can't get a hold of the kids. Like, why aren't my friends answering the radio calls? He goes home, he's depressed. Turns out they're there waiting for him. So they throw a little surprise party for him. It's really funny and cute. Dustin shows what he made at science camp. The most important thing being this giant radio that's like better than what they even had at the Hawkins High School lab. So he talks them into taking this radio up to the highest hill in Hawkins because he's got a girlfriend now. And he's going to show them that using this radio, he can actually talk to his girlfriend all the way in Salt Lake City. So they start to walk up the hill. Mike and 11, super flirty. They ditch the party. They're not even going to finish the hike to the
They're
top
just
of the
making
hill.
out all time.
Making out all time, much to the chagrin of Hopper, who's very fat now. But Will and Max and Lucas make it to the top. They set up the tower called Cerebro. He starts to call for his girlfriend Susie. No answer. The other 3 are like, he's probably lying. He probably doesn't have a girlfriend. He keeps trying and trying to get a hold of her. Nothing, but all the kids go away. But right before he's about to leave the hill, he hears a Russian transmission coming across his radio.
Yep. There's a new massive shopping mall in Hawkins now. Steve meets a new friend named Robin. They both work at this little sailor-themed ice cream shop called Scoops
Scoops.
Ahoy. Lucas's little sister Erica plays a little bit more of a role in this episode. Let's move on to chapter 2, season 3, The Mall Rats. Nancy.
Oh, go ahead. I forgot to end episode 1.
Go for it.
At the end, Karen shows up to the pool all the time where Billy is now a lifeguard. And all these moms think Billy's the hottest thing.
Karen just throws herself at Billy.
Yeah, and Billy's like, hey, I'll give you some private lessons tonight swimming, wink, wink, at this motel. And Karen's like, she didn't say no, but she didn't say yes. So Billy, at the end of this episode 1, is in his car riding out to this mall or riding out to this motel. Something hits his windshield to the point where it causes him to wreck his car. He gets out and inspects it and starts to see something run by, hears a sound, and he gets pulled in by what looks like a tentacle or something, grabs his leg, pulls him into this abandoned factory and down a staircase. And that's the end of episode 1.
Yeah.
Sorry. 2.
Nancy and Jonathan follow a lead. Steve and Robin sign on to a secret mission. And Max and Eleven go shopping. A rattled Billy has troubled visions. All right, we'll go backwards from this. Billy is taken into the basement of this thing. We don't really know what happens to him, but he starts having visions of the Upside Down, which he has no knowledge of, but starts to see himself in the Upside Down, and he has no idea what's going on. We don't really have any idea what's going on, but this is the new kind of supernatural story of season 3. What is happening with Billy? Max and Eleven go shopping because it's summertime. They've got their boyfriends and everything, but they're going to go shopping on the shopping spree. It's very bright and happy. This whole season is this huge juxtaposition between the bright, happy Scoops Ahoy in the mall and then the darkness that we know is going on in the Upside Down. Steve and Robin sign on to a secret mission because Dustin shows them the Russian, or says that he found this Russian transmission from Cerebro, and so he kind of enlists the help of Steve and Robin to try to help because Robin says that she can translate Russian to some minor level, but Robin agrees to kind of help them with that. Nancy and Jonathan follow a lead because there are reports from people in town, especially this lady, about rats and
Getting sick.
Yeah, rats, like rabid rats, like rats with rabies. Jonathan and Nancy both now work together for a small little Hawkins newspaper. Jonathan is like the photographer there. Nancy is the coffee jockey, secretary. But Nancy has aspirations to be a reporter. The misogynistic, kind of sexist men in the newspaper do not want her to be that, and they just make fun of her, and she's very demoralized by it all.
Right.
But Jonathan and Nancy are very much together, sleeping together now, and thinking that they're sneaking around, but Joyce knows exactly what's going on. Ted and Karen Wheeler, by the way, have no idea what's going on because that's just who they are. And so they follow this lead at Mrs. Driscoll's house about a rabid rat that she has in her basement, and something is not right with this rat. And it's not the first time we've seen rats in this season either.
Oh, yeah.
Rats are kind of scurrying into the same factory basement that Billy was pulled into.
Even in episode 1 on the hill where they built the Cerebro Tower, rats are scurrying by.
All right, so chapter 3.
The case of the missing...
Ooh. This is a longer episode title. We have to figure out what this episode is called.
Yeah, what are we missing?
This is chapter 3 of episode 3. Of course, we got 36.
I can find it really quick.
All right.
303. The case of the missing lifeguard. Oh, this one gets a little shady. Okay. Synopsis. With Elle and Max looking for Billy, Will declares a day without girls. Steve and Dustin go on a stakeout, and Joyce and Hopper return to the lab. So Mike and Elle are on the outs, which is why Elle goes to Max's house to be like, can we talk? And Max is like, oh my gosh, why are you here? But they end up talking about Mike not being a very good boyfriend. And so at the mall, Eleven actually breaks up with Mike.
I dump your ass.
So now why would they be looking for Billy? Did Billy not come home? Or did Elle... Oh, Elle and Max play this game where they start spying on people for fun with using Elle's powers. And they learned that Lucas and Mike are just feeling sorry for themselves and blaming everything on the girls. But then they go to look for Billy, and Elle sees some disturbing things.
Yes.
She sees like a scared lifeguard. She sees blood, so she's not really sure what happens. Max is actually like, if you heard screaming and with Billy, that's not always a bad thing. It could be happy screaming. But Elle is shaken up by what she sees, so they go to find Billy to see if they can make sense of this red door and this.
Billy's kind of having his own episodes.
Yeah, Billy acts like he's got a fever, like he can't be in the sunshine. Something's very wrong with him. He looks very sick. In one part, we see Mrs. Wheeler, Karen, go to check on him, and we see what we think Billy in this storage unit, or this closet. We think that Billy knocks Karen out, but it was actually a flash forward or a fever dream Billy was having where he felt like he wanted to do that. He didn't actually do that, but he tells Karen, "Stay away from me," because again, he's now probably possessed with something very sickly.
Yes.
Stephen is going to stake out. I don't remember that part. And Joyce and Hopper return to the Hawkins lab. Oh, they break in. Joyce and Hopper break into the lab to figure out if the gate is back open and what's going on.
Yeah, and it's revealed in there that Joyce has put their house, the buyer's house, on the market. And Hopper kind of has feelings for Joyce, and Hopper does not want them to leave. So he convinces Joyce there in the lab, hey, nothing is wrong. The gate's closed. It's poured with concrete. I was here when it happened.
But when they're in the lab, Hopper gets in a fight with a random person. The lab is boarded up, but someone was in there just to beat Hopper.
The lab is being monitored, and they found him there. Also, in this, Dustin and Steve's stakeout is of the deliveries coming and going from the
mall. Yes. Okay.
And they suspect that it's related to this Russian transmission.
Yes. Worst case scenario, it's just Russian mafia dealing drugs out of the mall.
Yeah. But so far, here we are starting episode 4, and we still really don't know what the big baddie is in this season.
No, we don't.
This is a very unique season. It's very good.
Sure is.
Chapter 4, the sauna test. A code red brings the gang back together to face a frighteningly familiar evil. Karen urges Nancy to keep digging, and Robin finds a useful map. Okay. Let's go backwards again. Robin finds a useful map. She, I think, breaks the code here of the transmission that she thinks that there is a secret Russian dealings, mafia kind of thing going on related to the mall. And
she buys a map, actually, of the air ducts.
Yeah,
she takes money from the tip jar and buys the map.
Yep. Of the whole underground of the mall, and they find that maybe there's some Russian things going on at the
storage unit downstairs. Yep.
My light went off because it's on a timer. Don't worry about that. Karen urges Nancy to keep digging because Nancy pushes and pushes and pushes for this rat story and pushes too far despite Jonathan saying leave the story alone, and she gets both of them fired from the newspaper, and Jonathan is pissed. But Karen, in a great motherly moment when Nancy comes to confide in her, says you need to keep pushing, you need to keep digging because you're onto something and because you have real career aspirations, and don't let this discourage you from following your dream. So Karen gives Nancy great advice. Nancy and Jonathan are pretty much on the outs now, but Code Red brings the gang back together because they realize that Billy is potentially possessed by the Mind Flayer. Will is starting to feel, he always goes like this because he feels when the Mind Flayer is close, and he knows, they all kind of understand Billy might be possessed by the Mind Flayer, but of course they know how to get the Mind Flayer out of somebody because it happened to Will. And so they trick Billy into getting into the sauna at the pool and turn it up to 200 degrees or whatever. And Billy freaks out on them, gets superhuman strength, and he and Eleven have a bit of a power struggle duel where Eleven essentially overcomes Billy and throws him through the wall of the pool, through the sauna test. But the Mind Flayer does not come out of Billy. It just kind of confirms their suspicions that Billy actually is consumed by the Mind Flayer. But Max is a little bit conflicted because Billy kind of plays to her emotions through the Mind Flayer's manipulation. And so the kids, they do the sauna test on Billy. Yep.
One thing we didn't mention was the missing bodyguard, or the bodyguard. lifeguard. Billy abducted his coworker lifeguard, Heather, brought her back to that abandoned factory, laid her on the ground, said, "Don't move. This will all be over very soon." And she becomes possessed as well by the mind flayer. So there's some evil presence physically inside this factory that is possessing people if they end up in this factory.
And we start to see little pictures of it. It's kind of like a miniature version of the big shadowy mind flayer monster from season 2.
Yep.
But it's kind of taking over these people. And I think also at this point, Mrs. Driscoll is not well.
Nope.
They find her eating fertilizer.
They sure do.
In her basement. And they start to develop this theory that the mind flayer is taking kind of over. He's kind of taking over people, and they're called.
Yep. The Flayed.
Chapter 5.
The Flayed.
The Flayed.
Strange surprises lurk inside an old farmhouse and deep beneath the Starcourt Mall. Meanwhile, the mind flayer is gathering strength. Okay, so Erica is now involved because she was small enough to fit in the air ducts, and sure enough, she's able to sneak all the way down into this secretive storage place. But it turns out, and she lets Robin, Steve, and Dustin in. Turns out it's not a storage facility, but it's actually an elevator. So they're in here, and this elevator descends very quickly underground somewhere. They don't know where it's going. They think they're going to get to escape through by climbing back up. Not possible. Then the doors open, and sure enough, on the other side of this elevator, somewhere deep underground, there are Russians operating underneath the Starcourt Mall. I don't remember how they eventually find their way in, but they get past the guards and start sneaking and snooping around inside this underground facility, which is massive. Inside an old farmhouse, there's this mayor who's dealing shady with these people, and he basically forces people off their land and then resells it to whoever owns the Starcourt Mall, which we find out is Russians. But he's selling them this land and these farmhouses, which are all near power stations, I believe. So Hopper and Joyce go to investigate this, and sure enough, they get into one of these houses, and underneath a Murphy bed is a staircase leading to a secret layer, and there are 2 Russian scientists underneath this house, one of which we saw in the very episode 1. So he is a gate-opening laser scientist in Hawkins in a basement. But at the same time, the guy who beat Hopper up at the lab arrives at this house, and he and Hopper go to blows. They almost kill each other, but Hopper, Joyce, and they abduct the scientist. Alexei is his name, or Smirnoff for short. And they abduct him and take off with this scientist.
Smirnoff for short. It's great.
Whew.
Yeah, and all along the way, this Russian strangler guy, which looks like the German fighter from Rocky IV, just with dark hair, is on Hopper's trail. He's following them the whole time. But Hopper now has in his possession a prisoner, this Russian scientist.
Yep.
And the kids get out of the elevator because people come onto the elevator, and then when the door's closing, they hop down through the gate, and they
oh yeah,
they find these green canisters,
and they sneak through after they leave.
Scott Clark explains to Joyce, this is an important piece. We missed it somewhere along the way. Hopper and Joyce agree to some sort of date. Well, finally. Joyce doesn't think it's a date. Hopper says it's not, but kind of is. She stands him up on accident because she's so concerned about these magnets falling off of her fridge and everything that's happening with these electromagnetic field, that she goes and enlists the services of Scott Clark to explain to her how this could be happening.
Right.
And Scott Clark, just like he did in The Flea and the Acrobat, explains to her that it's possible that for the electromagnetic field to be disturbed by something that uses great energy, that nobody really could have that much energy.
Right.
But that's why it's significant that all this land that's being bought up by these Russians under the supervision of the mayor is next to these power stations so that they can presumably use all this power.
Right. Yep.
And under the Starcourt Mall, the Russians are housing these green vials of some sort of substance.
Yeah, I think we find out in this episode what they use it for.
All right, chapter 6, E pluribus unum, out of many, one.
Ooh.
Dr. Alexei reveals what the Russians have been building. 11 sees where Billy has been. And Dustin and Erica stage a daring rescue.
Go.
Okay. I don't remember the Dustin and Erica stage any daring rescue, so you think about that while I go to. Dr. Alexei reveals what the Russians have been building with the help of Murray, who speaks Russian. We know we get a lot of Murray in this season, and it's awesome that the Russians are trying to open a gate to another dimension. Whether it's for scientific use or like surveillance or spying or travel or whatever, we don't know. But Alexei says they have to come to America because the veil is thinner there because the gate has already been opened there once. And so that freaks out Hopper and Joyce because they know about the gate from the last season. Murray doesn't, but they kind of explain it to Murray along the way. They allow Alexei to go free because he's being a bit of a diva with his demands, but he ends up coming back to them because Hopper's like, where else is he going to go? The Russians are going to kill him, and so he's better with us. So now they have Alexei kind of free and clear, but 11 kind of continues to see what's going on with Billy through her mind, and she sees some very disturbing things about Billy's past on a beach, and tries to kind of find the source of Billy's evil.
Right.
Finds out he has a very traumatic childhood with an abusive father and divorce in the family and everything. And so that's the Mind Flayer is kind of using that trauma to propel Billy to this evil through also his possession and everything, and how he got Heather and then Heather's parents become involved in this mind flaying as well. So they're, Mrs. Driscoll is all there and everything. So Dustin and Erica stage a daring rescue.
They all four get caught, but Dustin and Erica get away, and they think that Dustin and Erica, you think they were going to just make it to the top and tell everybody, but instead Dustin and Erica, instead of going back up to the top of the mall to get help,
for Steve and Robin.
Yes, because Steve and Robin are now detained. They got detained. But instead of going to get help, Dustin and Erica eventually come back and rescue them, even though Steve and Robin are in a very drugged state.
Yes, they're being drugged by the Russians.
With truth serum.
Yep. And Dustin and Erica, instead of doing the smart thing, going up and getting the authorities, they're going to stay and
try to be the
fight.
Heroes.
Crazy.
Okay, chapter 7, The Bite. As I read this, I can't remember why it's called The Bite. With time running out and an assassin close behind, Hopper's crew races back to Hawkins, where Elle and the kids are preparing for war. The Bite. Okay, so Alexei's not leaving. He's decided to help Hopper and Joyce and Murray in exchange for becoming an American citizen or something. So they're heading back into town, into Hawkins, and the assassin's been on their trail the whole time. He's just like a couple steps behind them, realizing that they're moving from points A to B. So they all end up at a fun fair that's being put on by the mayor. The mayor's thrown a 4th of July party to try to smooth over the town because the downtown businesses are closing because the big mall, people are losing their land because the mayor's shady, but he decides, hey, if I throw this big 4th of July bash, everyone in the town will be happy with me again.
Klein is a swine.
At this fun house, the baddie, the Strangler, catches up with Hopper, but he's brought reinforcements this time. Hopper still manages to get away with Murray and Joyce, but not Alexei. Alexei gets killed at this fun fair because the Russian Strangler finds him, recognizes him, shoots him, and calls him a traitor. Alexei was really excited about becoming an American and trusted and had a friendship, but Alexei is no more. So the three of them take off with a Russian radio they confiscated, and it says something about the mall or a food court, so we know where they're going to go now. The food court. Okay. I think through radio, finally, Dustin gets a hold of them, and they all finally unite maybe at the mall.
Yep.
and explain what's been going on and that they could have used each other's help. Because it's so far this whole season, it's been Dustin and Steve hanging out. Dustin feeling kind of like, man, these guys have been ignoring me, but he's not realizing that Mike and Lucas, they're having their own problems. But now they all meet up to explain what's going on.
Yeah, so the storylines are all coalescing. Jonathan and Nancy are following this story about Mrs. Driscoll and these rats, and how like the guy at the paper is acting weird, and they think that maybe he's sick or something. And then obviously Jonathan or Steve and Robin and Dustin and Erica know about the underground thing at Starcourt, but Stephen, Robin, and Dustin and Erica don't know about the rats, and Jonathan and Nancy don't know about the Russians and Starcourt. So all these things are coming together, and obviously Hopper and Joyce know about the Russians, but they don't know about the rats either, or this mind flayer thing. They just know that the Russians are trying to open a gate, and so you have all three of these storylines coming together at the mall.
And I forgot that Nancy and Jonathan go to the hospital to check on Mrs. Driscoll.
Yep.
She does that the first time, and Mrs. Driscoll's clearly out of her mind.
Yep.
But then
during the sauna test, and she panics.
Yes.
While Billy is in the sauna.
But then eventually, do they go back a second time to visit her? And this time
Nancy does
by herself to get more information.
Yeah.
But that's when we find out that two of the newspaper men are now flayed. They've been possessed by the mind flayer, and they start attacking her. And
Jonathan shows up.
Jonathan shows up for some reason, but he starts getting attacked almost to the point of getting killed. But at the last minute, Eleven is there with the gang and is the hero, and she ends up throwing this hospital monster. Oh, the two baddies, they get killed essentially by Nancy and Jonathan. But then the two of them become one monster at the hospital, and now they're this weird, fleshy, scary monster that really starts doing damage. But at just the right time, 11 shows up and throws the monster outside, falling multiple stories. It doesn't kill it. It just slithers away into a drainage, into the sewer system or something, where this little monster joins with what's become a giant monster back at that factory.
And we see a very scary, eerie scene with Billy and a perfectly alive Heather. Max and 11 realize at Heather's parents' house, which Heather's dad is one of the guys in the newspaper. That's how he gets flayed. Billy and Heather they kind of knock out their parents so that the mind flayer can take control. And Billy and 11... So we're about to go into the final episode, so we might as well get a lot of this backstory that we've missed along the way. Billy and 11 have their own little power struggle because Billy now represents the mind flayer, and he says that they are building this thing for this big monster for 11. They want to take out 11. The mind flayer wants to destroy 11. And so the whole point of this monster that they're building, Billy and the mind flayer, with the help of all these flayed people, is to take out 11.
And another thing is, when that happens, they're at Hopper's cabin because they think that's a safe place. They end up getting attacked by a giant fleshy version of this. The monster comes out after it's big enough. Comes out. It knows somehow that 11 is there because 11 was spying. So it knows they're in the cabin. This fleshy mind flayer attacks them in the cabin, and 11 does her best, but 11 gets attacked and bitten on the leg by one of its tentacles. She eventually uses her powers, and it kind of splits the thing's head and stumbles backwards, gives them enough time to escape to vehicles. And is that when they take off to the mall? Because I think they got the call from Dustin, maybe then, to meet up at the mall. Oh my gosh.
So all these stories are coalescing into Chapter 8, the final episode of Season 3, The Battle of Starcourt.
And as a result, the audio quality will be a little less. Here, I'll even bring it forward a little bit, since I can zoom out 3D style. But now we're going to resume with our commentary review on the final episode.
I also turned the light back on, so everything's better now except for the audio quality. Okay, so the Battle of Starcourt. Terror reigns in the food court when the Mind Flayer comes to collect. But down below, in the dark, the future of the world is at stake.
And go.
Okay, so 11 in the last episode helps save Steve and Robin by throwing a car, like a display car in the mall, across the food court to kill the Russian baddies that are after them. This is after Robin admits to Steve that she's not into boys like him, and or boys at all. And then 11, because of this thing that's in her leg, Jonathan tries to cut it out of her. She ends up kind of extricating it from her own leg through her mind powers, but that's the last of her powers that she gets to use. We don't know what's happening, but 11 has lost her abilities. The Mind Flayer, goo monster, people monster thing is after 11. And she is incapacitated. Meanwhile, Hopper and Joyce and Murray hatch a plan to go into the Russian tunnels underneath Starcourt to try to get the machine off by getting both of the keys and turning them off at Alexi's instruction, R.I.P. And so they have this plan where Dustin is going to navigate them with Cerebro, and so Steve and Robin and Dustin and Erica go up to the hill where Dustin has the radio to help navigate the second party of Joyce, Hopper, and Murray in the Russian tunnels, while 11 and Mike and Will and Lucas and Max are in the mall because they're kind of pinned down in the food court.
Yeah, they're supposed to escape and go to Murray's house and lay low, but they don't.
But they can't because the ignition cable to their car in the parking lot has been cut
by
Billy. So Billy is in his Camaro just kind of revving it. So this is the scene. The kids try to escape. Oh, geez. Forget that 2-minute thing.
Yeah, not on this last
This is a very long last episode. So Dustin is on the hill. He's trying to navigate the adults in the tunnel. Murray has the codename Bald Eagle, which he hates. They end up killing. Hopper literally just mows down a bunch of Russians with a machine gun. They commandeer their uniforms so as to not draw any suspicion. Murray speaks Russian to kind of get them by. And they are in the tunnels. Steve is obviously babysitting again. But the big thing is that in the mall, 11 and Max and Lucas and Will and Mike and everybody are trying to escape. And they get kind of getting pinned down by the Mind Flayer goo monster. And while this is all happening, it all happens kind of simultaneously. They realize that the code for the safe where the keys are in the Russian compound is not right. It was supposed to be Planck's constant. Murray thought he knew what that was, but it's not right. And so Dustin calls Susie again. Everybody thinks that Susie's not real at this point with Cerebro, but actually makes contact with her. And instead of her giving him Planck's constant, they sing the theme song for Neverending Story for like 3 minutes. And it goes over every radio in the whole town of Hawkins. They hear it in the basement. They hear it in the mall. They hear it in the car. They're trying to... Jonathan and Nancy and them are escaping in the station wagon. They finally get it started. And they try to lure the Mind Flayer monster away. But then it turns around and goes back to... Turn around. It actually turns around. It goes back to the mall. But anyway, Susie gives them Planck's constant, the right one. And so Hopper and Joyce find the way into the safe to get the keys. They go into the control room where the keys are. They're about to turn them, but the Russian strangler shows up, starts beating the crap out of Hopper. Their fight goes into the actual room where the machine is that's creating the rift, the green things or power for it. Joyce develops a plan to take a belt to wrap around one key so she can still kill the thing after Hopper is out and safe by herself. So pause on that. In the mall, the Mind Flayer has 11 dead to rights. Right? 11 has no ability to escape. It has kind of eliminated every other way.
But why were Max and 11 and Mike together in that one scene? They were trying to, because 11 was injured and she couldn't run up the stairs, and she's like, let's go up through the gap.
Yeah.
They almost get caught. But then they try to make a run for it, just the three of them, when Billy encounters them and knocks all three of them out.
Yeah, why that is, I don't remember all the details of how they got to where they are. But 11 is helpless on the ground. The Mind Flayer, the goo monster, is too big for anybody else to fight. And Billy takes on the kind of line that we've heard before. Just try to stay very still, it will all be over soon. And 11 is kind of dead. But 11, knowing what she knows about Billy's past through her visions in the last episodes, starts to connect with Billy with a new superpower that she has now developed, which is emotional intelligence and empathy. And so she connects with him by saying that she essentially tells Billy what she knows about his past and essentially says that it doesn't have to be this way. And I forget everything that she says in her little soliloquy, but she connects with Billy in a way that Billy has not been connected with maybe ever. And in a shocking turn of events, Steve and Robin come and save the day at some point in there too, as Dustin and Erica are on the hill. I forget what the timing of that is. We can't let that go. But as the Mind Flayer monster has 11 dead to rights, Billy comes to save the day and sacrifices himself as the Mind Flayer is about to take 11 because Billy has been saved by 11's words to him. And so Billy shields 11 from the thing, and it kills Billy in front of Max.
Yep. And
they all escape. And then down in the tunnels, Hopper and the Russian Strangler are fighting. Hopper overtakes the Russian Strangler by throwing him into the machine, and it kills the Russian Strangler, but it also damages the machine in such a way that now Hopper can't get back to the control room,
right?
Because there's now a force field of energy, and Joyce is faced with the decision to turn the keys, essentially blowing up this machine and killing Hopper.
Yep.
Because Dustin is saying you have to do it now because of what's happening at the mall.
Because the kids are battling the monster with fireworks, and it's working because it hates heat.
Yes, the fireworks.
But they're out of fireworks, and so if something doesn't kill the Mind Flayer, absolutely kill the Mind Flayer now, then they're all dead. And sure enough, by Joyce turning the keys off, the gate is closed, and when the gate closes, the physical Mind Flayer that's in our world is dead. It's separated from its...
But it blew up that whole control room where Hopper was by himself.
Yes.
And so at the end of this episode, at the end of this season, Hopper is gone.
Presumed dead.
And now 11 is orphaned yet again. And so she is going to move with the Byers. The Byers have sold their house. 11 is going to move with the Byers out of town. And
it's sad.
Yeah.
But 11 she gets to read a letter that Hopper never read to her. That just really cements everybody together, and that Hopper really is a good dad. He has everybody's best interest in mind, and he admits his flaws in this letter, why he's so protective of Elle. And, we assume at the end of this season, Hopper might actually be a dead character. But until partway through the credits,
we're in Russia again. And there is a prisoner at this, prison compound thing called the American, which we don't see. And they're essentially sacrificing prisoners to
a Demogorgon.
A monster, a Demogorgon.
Yep. Gee whiz.
So that 2 minutes was probably more like 8 or 10.
For season finales, it has to be.
Yes. All right. So here we are back to season 4 already, but we're 3 years after season.
In real world time,
Yeah.
it took a long time for them to put out season 4, but
Yeah.
in actual time,
It's just like
3 months,
I think it's 8 months.
4 months, summer to being back in school, so not that long. Okay, season 4.
Spring break.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Spring break. Yeah, that's right. Season 4, episode 1, The Hellfire Club. Elle is bullied at school. Joyce gets a mysterious package. A scrappy player shakes up D&D night. Warning: contains graphic violence involving children. I don't remember that part.
That's
what it
funny.
is. All right, go. Okay, so they've moved to California. Joyce has essentially adopted Eleven as her own, so Joyce takes 11, Will, and Jonathan with her to California. It kind of looks like 11 and Will are in the same class, but the popular kids are really hard on Elle. She looks like she's a country girl, and they're all snobby and just very, very mean to her. And she presents herself as just being some sort of learning disabled, which we actually know she's just not a normal kid and did not have a normal childhood.
Right.
But they're still very, very mean to her at this new school. Joyce gets a package that's got a lot of Russian stamps on it. And inside is a Russian doll. And she actually calls Murray to be like, what do you think about this? Murray's like, it's probably a bomb. You need to go break it in your front yard in case it blows up. She breaks it, and inside is a classic hostage letter with letters cut out of magazines, something only she would know, like about a date at Enzo's or something from Enzo. So this gives Joyce hope that Hopper is actually alive. At this new school, Lucas is actually a part of the basketball team, so he kind of looks like he's popular now. But we also find out there's a little bit of tension between him, they're still at Hawkins. Sorry, Lucas and Hawkins, he's on the basketball team, but there's tension between him and Mike and Dustin, because Mike and Dustin, now that they're high school freshmen, they're still super nerdy, love playing D&D. This really rock and roll dude has taken Mike and Dustin under his wing and let them join in on his kind of D&D escapades. But the conflict here in this first episode is they're going to the basketball championship, which was when their final campaign was supposed to be held. And Lucas is torn, like, I can't not go to this basketball game. And so Mike and Dustin actually ask Erica if they'll sit in Lucas's place for this final D&D campaign.
The violence involving children, I think, is Chrissy. I think that happens in the first episode, doesn't it?
Does it?
It's the only one that has graphic violence involving children.
Okay, so this kid, he's not a really bad kid leading the D&D, but he also sells some drugs on the side. So the most popular kid on the basketball team has a girlfriend named Chrissy. Cheerleader. And she's got anxiety problems, that's obvious. So she goes to him to buy drugs. But he's got the good stuff back at his crappy trailer. So they go to his house the night of the basketball game is over, which is a strange thing because Max lives across the street from Eddie, the rock and roll druggy D&D guy. Max sees them going in, but whatever. While Christy's there to buy drugs, she not only has a upside down type episode, she is actually killed by something from the
unseen
other
force.
world, from the unseen force. And Eddie watches it in real time as she's physically disfigured. Her eyes seem to pop out or back into her head.
Yep.
She's drug up into the ceiling, and bones are breaking, and Eddie's watching this all happen.
Yep.
End of episode 1.
And she saw a grandfather clock with the chiming.
Yep.
And so we don't know what that means. All right, chapter 2. Oh, what did I just do? Chapter 2 is Vecna's Curse.
Oh.
I have to reload Netflix because I fat fingered the remote. So bear with me. But the grandfather clock plays in heavily in this
as does Spring Break, though. Now that you mention it,
as we get to Vecna's Curse, yes. So chapter 2 of I don't want to watch the Great British Baking Show.
Or maybe
how is Netflix not the top result I get on my?
You mean how is there it is?
Jeez.
Stranger Things not.
I apologize.
All good.
Stranger Things season 4 episode to Vecna's curse. A plane brings Mike to California.
Spring break.
And a dead body brings Hawkins to a halt.
Chrissy.
Nancy goes looking for leads. A shaken Eddie tells the gang what he saw. So we were right about that.
Yep.
Okay, spring break, and Mike is coming to California to visit Eleven. Eleven gives Mike this whole story that's not true about how popular she is and how much she loves it there and how much she's doing great and all these friends that she has.
And Will's like, not true. What
is
the heck?
not. He knows it's not true. He's
That's-
like, why is she lying? And he's super third wheel.
Yep.
And is really jealous of Mike's relationship with Eleven.
Yep.
We find out it's mostly for Mike. And a dead body brings Hawkins to a halt. The town is rocked by this gruesome murder of Chrissy. Everybody thinks it was Eddie that did it because he's weird and he's part of this Hellfire Club. Yes, they think he's involved in some cult. And it was at his trailer. So Eddie goes into hiding. He just goes in exile, self-exiles himself because everybody's after him. Nancy goes looking for leads because she's concerned about...
She takes her coworker.
Yeah, she takes her coworker at the paper. College paper or no?
High school. Yeah, like she's a senior now writing for her high school.
Oh,
newspaper.
that's right. Yeah. So...
And I think she just wants a good story.
Yeah. And so her coworker in this episode, while they're investigating the trailer park, they kind of sneak in with some stuff, but her coworker starts to have weird visions of the policeman who let them in, and then he sees a grandfather clock chiming as well. They realize through their D&D knowledge that this is very much like the D&D villain Vecna and how he curses people. And so the D&D savvy understand that maybe that's what's happening here. And in California, Mike and Eleven's trying to keep up this facade that she's got all these friends, but Mike sees that she's actually being bullied. And Mike and Will have a bit of a rift because Will wants Mike to be good friends with him still, or maybe more, but in any case, Eleven is being bullied and Mike starts to see through her lies.
And then Dustin and Steve, Dustin suspects that it wasn't Eddie that killed Chrissy, so they go looking for him and they find him.
He knows it's not Eddie.
And because they were finishing their campaign when this happened. Or no, that's not true. But anyway.
But he just knows Eddie to be a good guy.
Yeah, not a killer.
Yeah.
So they find Eddie, and Eddie's reluctant to say what he saw, but all of them are like, no, you can tell us anything.
Yeah.
We're probably going to believe what you say.
Yeah, because, Eddie thought, well, there's no way that anybody would believe this woman, this girl, like, being levitated in the sky while her boat's broken and everything.
Yeah.
And Max sees the next morning all the police coming to the trailer park. She kind of sees through the open door Chrissy on the floor, and she's, very worried. Oh, my gosh. Also, Max herself is having trouble at school. She's having headaches. She's going to see the counselor.
Yep.
All this stuff. Because she's traumatized by what she saw last episode of Billy dying in front of the thing.
Oh,
also,
boy.
her parents have split up again.
Yes. Well, Billy's dad
That's what I mean, yeah.
left town or couldn't deal with Billy's dying. And so now Max is just being raised by her mom.
In a trailer across the street from Eddie.
Yeah.
Chapter 3.
The Monster and the Sorry, our title, I can't speak.
Why is that? Oh, there it is. The Monster and the Superhero.
Monster and the Superhero. Okay. For this synopsis, we find that
Nate can't work a remote.
the English is preferred.
The Monster and the Superhero.
So, Murray and Joyce fly to Alaska, and Elle faces serious consequences. Robin and Nancy dig up dirt on Hawkins' demon, and Dr. Owens delivers some sobering news. So, important note here that I'll show you. Hopper's alive, but he's in a Russian prison. How did he get there? Not exactly clear, but when the machine exploded, it didn't actually disintegrate him. It looks like the machine just exploded backwards towards the observation room, and Hopper just looks like he was thrown down to safety. How did he end up in Russia? I have no clue. We're not told that. It's some Russian employees that were underneath the Starcourt Mall managed to escape during the fire that happened from the Mind Flayer dying. They escaped and took Hopper with them, and somehow made it back to Russia. And so now he's in this.
There was some speculation between seasons that maybe Hopper made it through the gate and came out, but there's no open gate in Russia that we know of.
Yeah, so we don't know how, but he's there and he's alive. Murray. So Joyce contacts Murray and tells him about the thing, and she's like, "We're going to Alaska to, Oh, there's a phone number involved." Yes, Joyce finds a phone number, calls it, and says, "If you want Hopper, you got to bring $40,000 to this fish store in Alaska."
Which in 1986 would have been
money,
$100,000.
Yep. 11 is they go to a skating rink with Mike during spring break, and there's the popular kids, and they throw a milkshake on her and just again are being super mean to her. 11 says she wants them to apologize and just pretend you're my friend. That's all I'm asking in front of my boyfriend here. And they're like, no. And then 11 has a bit of a flashback and sees that she's probably been a very violent young kid. And this all comes out, and she attacks this popular girl that threw the milkshake on her. Attacks her with a skate and busts open her nose. And she actually gets arrested and taken to a jail. On the way to jail, the car that's driving her to juvie is stopped by a whole bunch of black undercover government cars, and they flash their bags and "You got Jane so-and-so? We'll take her." And we see Dr. Owens is here, and Dr. Owens is like, "I got some bad news." And Jane's like, "Am I in trouble for this hitting that girl?" And Dr. Owens is like, no, don't worry about that. So Dr. Owens catches Jane up to the fact that the Russians. What is the problem here that they encounter? I can't remember, and I just watched it.
Problem Inc. Who?
So Dr. Owens is driving 11 back to the underground blah blah blah, right?
I think it's because there are people in the government and intelligence who think that all these murders in Hawkins are being instigated or done by 11.
Yes. The government, high up actual government officials, not these Hawkins type lab researchers, high up government officials are suspicious.
Real military as opposed to the,
secretive.
Yeah.
Are suspicious of this, and now they're coming for 11.
Now we're on to, sorry for the delay, Chapter 4, Dear Billy. Max is in grave danger and running out of time. A patient at Penhurst Asylum has visitors. Elsewhere in Russia, Hopper is hard at work. Why is Max in grave danger? Because she now has seen the grandfather clock vision. As they are investigating why these two victims are who they are, they suspect that maybe both of them are seeing this counselor. And so they break in to the school to find the files on these two patients, students at the school who've been killed, Fred and Chrissy. And while they're doing that, Max has this grandfather clock vision. Knowing now that this is Vecna's curse, Max understands, I don't have a lot of time, 24 hours or so. And so she starts writing letters to people, knowing that she's going to die soon. A patient at Penhurst Asylum is Henry Creel, or Victor Creel. Victor Creel was somebody who was a quote-unquote serial killer back in the 50s who killed his victims in a similar way as to how these students have been killed, their eyes being gouged out and so forth. And so Nancy's very curious about that as a reporter. And so she and Robin pretend to be psychiatry students at a college. And they're doing a research paper, so they kind of get the Penhurst Asylum warden to allow them to have an audience with Victor Creel, even though that's not really allowed. And so they visit Victor Creel, who tells them that his family was murdered. He didn't do it.
Demon.
the story is that their house was haunted. He calls the perpetrator a demon. It is a crazy scene, and he is played by Jason or Freddy Krueger. It's that guy. So it's like a call it throwback. And then Hopper is hard at work in Russia, obviously on the chain gang line, which is building a railroad, but also trying to find a way to escape by pounding his chains into his skin so that he can get them off easier and all that kind of stuff. He is undergoing massive amounts of pain. But in this scene, I have to say, in this episode, Max writes a letter to Billy. Mm-hmm. So in all of the letter writing and everything, the friends are very worried about Max because now she realizes that she's cursed. It's only a matter of time. She goes to the cemetery to read Billy's letter aloud, and she admits to Billy in this letter that maybe she did want him to die because she was so angry at him, and might actually be the impetus for this curse that Vecna is using against Max, that she has all this trauma. While she is there at the gravesite of Billy, Vecna comes calling, and she undergoes his kind of spin on things and realizes that she, this is Vecna's time to kill her. So she, at the same time, Nancy and Robin realize through their discussion with Victor Creel, they escape because the warden realizes they're not who they say they are. So they escape, but not before they learn that one of the ways in which Victor escaped the killing of the family was because his favorite song, "Dream a Little Dream of You," was playing on the radio. And so they realize that music is a way it's kind of a anti-venom for what Vecna's trying to do.
Letting Vecna take over your...
And so Nancy communicates this to the kids
just in time.
As Max is being drawn up into the air, which is a telltale sign of Vecna. He's about to end her. We see in the Upside Down, she is kind of at Vecna's lair as she's running away, kind of trying to escape. And Vecna... I'm way past the 2 minutes. I don't care. Vecna is like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here." It's like kind of like a deconstructed house kind of scene.
Yeah.
But through all of that, Dustin and Lucas find her favorite song on a cassette tape, put it in her Walkman, put it on her ears, and Kate Bush is running up that hill, plays. And in the Upside Down, where Max actually is with the real Vecna, she sees literally a light at the end of a tunnel kind of situation of the real world. And she literally escapes Vecna's curse by running towards Kate Bush's running up that hill. And comes down from midair and is fine.
One of the creepiest things to date in this whole show.
Yes, but not... It was unbelievable. That scene of hearing that song, which is a great song, had a 35-year renaissance after it was. But her, going up in the air and then escaping. We see Vecna really for the first time in, close up. He has all these lines that he says. This bar is just raised 3 notches in this episode. And we're in episode 4. We have 5 left.
It's so layered and complicated, but we're going to do our best. Okay, Chapter 5, The Nina Project. Dr. Owens takes Elle to Nevada, where she's forced to confront her past, while the Hawkins kids comb a crumbling house for clues. Vecna claims another victim. Okay, so we find out another strange thing. Owens takes 11 to this underground secretive lab. It's out in the middle of a desert, and you just drive a nameless road until you see a doorway. In this lab, Dr. Brenner is alive. We didn't know if he was alive, but he's alive. Owens and Brenner are working together, and they
trying to bring Eleven's powers back.
Yeah, the only way she can do that is she has to confront her past and understand that she's not a monster. And so Dr. Brenner puts her in this tank called the Nina Project. It's like the most I don't know,
sensory
depriving experience she can have. And Brenner has all these old videos. He videoed everything that went on there. So
brutal.
So Eleven's literally in the presence of her past via these VHS videos. And this is where she learns that, nope, that's later, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, number one, she's just shocked to see that Papa is still alive, but then she has these decisions to make about who she's going to be and what she's going to do.
And we're introduced to this orderly that she remembers at.
Oh yeah, she starts to see her childhood, and there's one guy that just seems to stand out and kind of be helpful eventually. The Hawkins kids, do they break into Creel's house?
Yeah.
I think they go into his actual house to start looking for any clues they can, since this Victor Creel seems to have been experiencing the same haunting back in the 1950s. The ex of Chrissy, the basketball player, still is convinced that Eddie did the killing. He's been searching for Eddie. He finds Eddie. Eddie starts to escape on a boat. One of the other basketball players is there to try to help get Eddie, but in the middle of the lake, this basketball player gets consumed or killed by Vecna. And we find out that even though Eddie is not physically touching this person, the basketball player is still convinced that Eddie is possessed. And because this basketball player was in the presence of Eddie, Eddie used his demonic powers to kill this other basketball player.
Yeah.
We find that out later, but that's what happens.
They find out about the house because Max is drawing pictures of what she saw when she was at Vecna's lair. And Nancy recognizes the doorway stained glass image from her research with Victor Creel.
Yep. Okay.
Also, we haven't even talked about Argyle, this new hippie character that Jonathan befriends in California. They're just weed-smoking partners together.
But that's about it.
Chapter 6, The Dive. Behind the Iron Curtain, a risky rescue mission gets underway. The California crew seeks help from a hacker, and Steve takes one for the team. Behind the Iron Curtain, Joyce and Murray's plan to get Hopper out is underway by bringing the money to this pilot named Yuri, who's going to fly them to Russia from Alaska.
He double-crosses them.
And he double-crosses them by essentially drugging them and then, exposing the corrupt guard at the prison that's orchestrating the whole thing and turning Hopper over. Like, this guy is just an absolute double-crosser, triple-crosser.
Yep.
And so Murray and Joyce are in a bad way. The California crew, the Nina Project, they get coordinates from Susie.
Yes.
Because they realize that Susie probably has the ability to hack into... I don't know what
the phone that they were in a safe house. They got shot up by the actual military.
They were not. Yeah, they were at the Byers' new house.
The Byers' new house got shot up by the actual military looking for 11. But as one of their guards is dying, he hands them a pen.
That's right.
They rescue him from the house, but he dies, and he's trying to write a number down. But instead, he just gives them the pen. Then they find in the pen there's a phone number. They try calling it. It's a modem. They go to Susie's house.
And so Susie realizes that she hacks in with her conscience and everything suppressed to give them the coordinates for the Nina Project. And so Argyle in the van and Jonathan and Mike and Will drive to Nevada from California to find this coordinates for the Nina Project, presumably to rescue 11. And so Steve, meanwhile, finds a water gate underneath the Lover's Lake where this third victim was killed. And they realize that there's potentially a portal at every kill site.
Yep.
But Steve swims down through the depth of the lake finds the water gate, and then enters through it into the Upside Down, shirtless, and gets strangled almost immediately by vines on the other side of the Upside Down. That was pretty close to 2 minutes.
Yep. Okay, the massacre at Hawkins' lab, Chapter 7. As Hopper braces to battle a monster, Dustin dissects Vecna's motives and decodes a message from beyond. Elle finds strength in a distant memory. This particular episode is probably the second longest at 1:41. It's like watching a movie every time. Okay, let's see what I can remember. So for fun, the prison guards feed these Russian prisoners essentially to this Demogorgon battle style. They put them in a contained area, let them pick a weapon, but they unleash this Demogorgon, knowing that the Demogorgon is just getting stronger by always feeding and killing on these people. Dustin tries to dissect Vecna's motives. What do they conclude? I don't remember what they come to as his motivation. Decodes a message from beyond. I'm having to decode this description.
Jeez.
I just watched this episode. A message from beyond. Maybe it'll come back to me or us.
It will probably next episode.
Yeah. 11, again, is being taken into her past through these VHS memories. And so there's this orderly named Henry, and Henry is going to help 11 escape. Before he does that, like it's almost escape day, he can't escape because Papa's put a chip in him. But 11's like, I can get that chip out. And Henry's like, you do that for me? 11 uses her powers that breaks this thing out of his bloody neck. And then Henry goes a bit AWOL. We find out that Henry is a bad dude, and that chip's probably been suppressing his bad powers. We also find out that he has powers that are now unleashed because his number is number 001. He's the number one kid that Papa started working with back in the day. So he uses his powers to start to break 11 out. He hides her in a closet and says, don't move. And then he goes out to do something. 11 just hears screams. She goes to check on the screams and hears Henry / number one just killing every kid in the lab, killing everybody he can. Just killing.
Which is the other side of a memory that 11 has from earlier.
And she thought that she was the one who had done this from times past, but then she walks in on this and sees that it was this Henry character killing all of the other test subjects or kids. He explains that he's not actually killing them; they're still with him. So somehow, by them dying, he's actually absorbing some of their powers or thoughts or something. He brushes it off as like, no, I'm not killing them. They're still with me in my mind. The episode ends with the two of them battling, and we realize there's certain shots when we see 11 in the mirror. It's her as a little kid. This happened, back in 1979 or something. But we see the two of them battling, and 11 actually uses her powers to overcome number one / Henry and dissolves him into a wall. And we don't know what happens to him immediately, but Dr. Brenner, Papa, walks in and sees all these dead kids and no Henry, and we don't know why he says it, but he's just like, what have you done? Is he thinking that 11 killed these kids for fun? Is he thinking that it's 11's fault because she removed Henry's chip that was suppressing his powers, possibly? We don't exactly know why he said that, but 11 is just bloodied and tired, and she kind of looks evil.
Yeah, because she threw Henry against the...
And I think it's the beginning of the next episode, maybe we see where Henry ends up. Maybe?
Chapter 8, Papa. Nancy has sobering visions, and Elle passes an important test. Back in Hawkins, the gang gathers supplies and prepares for battle. So, 11 now with a new set of memories related to the lab now filled out completely because all along the way her memories have been partial and mostly centered around her guilt. But now she realizes she has nothing to feel guilty of. She actually kind of saved the day.
She's not the monster.
Yeah, she's not the monster, but she is being asked by Papa not to go, even though she's like, all right, my powers are back. I'm going to go. And Papa's like, no, you have to stay here. Sam Owens is like, no, she's ready to go. So Sam and Brenner are not on the same page. Mm-hmm. Brenner is very adamant. He ends up tranquilizing Eleven, and it's brutal. And, she lifts the whole Nina Project thing with her mind. Like, she's proven her worth, but Papa just won't let her go for whatever reason. Nancy kind of starts to, she doesn't necessarily get cursed by Vecna, but Vecna lets her in to see his lair for whatever reason.
And says, I want you to tell people this.
Yeah, Nancy's in a trance, and then he shows her visions of what might be, or what is to come, essentially, with gates all over Hawkins, and essentially the world not being differentiated between the Upside Down and the real world, like, where he just kind of takes over everybody. The gang gathers supplies and prepares for battle. They have a plan. They are going to go to the Upside Down and try to kill Vecna in the Upside Down by luring him in the real world. Because Max is still cursed, and so Max is going to be bait to try to get Vecna to pay attention to her. While he's doing that, he'll be in a trance-like state in the Upside Down and might allow the other kids to reach him in the Upside Down and kill him. Meanwhile, 11 escapes, right?
Yes.
Or does that happen in the 3-hour episode that's to come?
This might be the episode where one of the guards that was guarding the Byers house eventually squeals and tells the military where this secret hideout is for 11. So they all descend on this secret place in Nevada and infiltrate the barracks. And 11, I don't remember how she gets outside. She must have used her powers.
No, Papa carries her outside.
Papa carries her outside through a secret hatch. But Papa ends up getting shot by one of the military's helicopters. Actually shot. And multiple times, but 11 somehow they were going to shoot 11 too, like they had permission to shoot her, but she then uses her powers to topple the helicopter, and she walks over to Papa as he's dying, and he's just like, please understand, I'd try to do everything for you, it was all for you, I never meant to hurt you, tell me you understand. And she doesn't say anything. She's like, bye Papa.
At the same time, Argyle brings Jonathan and Mike and Will. They find they drive up to this
battlefield
door.
That's exploded helicopter
strewn with dead bodies. And they actually find 11 before the helicopter gets taken down. They watch it
happen.
Yeah, and Argyle's just like, Argyle has no context for any of this.
No. Other than there's been a lot of shooting now that he's friends with these people.
Yes, exactly. So Papa's dead. 11 now has been rescued by the California crew.
Yep.
And what's happened with the Joyce Murray Hopper situation in this episode?
I don't know if it happens in this episode, but they get double crossed.
It is. I think it is.
But in the airplane, they end up beating up Yuri, but they crash land because they don't know how to fly the plane. But they tie Yuri up, so he's now their prisoner, and Joyce and Murray are threatening to just leave him out there to the bears and the wolves. And then Yuri's like, no, I'll help you. So Murray comes up with this great plan. He dresses up as Yuri, because he can speak Russian and pretend, and he puts Yuri, the traitor, into, gags him and makes him look like himself. So the three of them drive on to the military base together, Yuri pretending to be this crazy peanut butter smuggler, and look, I double-crossed your own guard, and I brought Americans here for your jail, like, look what a good Russian I'm being.
Did we cover how Hopper escaped from the chain gang? Then he got recaptured, thrown back into the prison.
Yep.
Then he's with these other guys, including the corrupt guard. They're being fed to the Demogorgon, but Hopper knows the solution, and he smuggles strong alcohol and cloth, and he wraps a spear in that, and actually ends up defeating the Demogorgon, or at least escaping from it. That's how he gets out of the prison for the second time.
Yep. And so with Joyce and Murray on the inside, Murray reveals himself and gets to the control room, and they just start throwing open doors, which enables them all to escape, essentially. But at the same time, the Demogorgon starts running wild anyway in the prison and starts killing all the Russian guards. And there was a bunch of other Demogorgons that were being incubated, and we also find out that they become possessed with some weird, dusty, spiraling being possesses them, and they all come to life and start killing everything in Russia.
All right, here we go with the finale.
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9.
The Piggyback.
The Piggyback. Is it yours or mine?
I think it's mine.
Okay.
With selfless hearts and a clash of metal, heroes fight from every corner of the battlefield to save Hawkins and the world itself. Let's admit, this is going to be ours. Okay, so the Californians realize, plus my...
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? They're not going to be able to make it back to Hawkins in time to lend a hand to what's about to go down there. So Eleven's like, I got an idea. I think I can help them here. This is where Argyle actually comes in.
Yes.
Eleven's like, I can protect Max when she's going under, or when she's, she's about to be killed by Vecna. I can piggyback her trance and be there and help in that sense. But she's like, I need deprivation, I need salt. And Argyle's like, oh, this is where I can help. So Argyle takes them to one of his pizza shop chains and talks them into getting to use their quarters. So they create a deprivation tank for 11. That's what they use the timer.
Pizza dough freezer.
Pizza dough freezer. They find a bunch of salt there, obviously, and she goes into deprivation. Meanwhile, back in Hawkins, they've all come up with phases and jobs for each other.
Yep.
Max and Lucas and Erica are staying in the real world, going to Victor Creel's house. Erica is going to be a go-between in this playground to intercept flashlight signals from Creed's house to flashing to other people to start their process. Lucas is going to be inside just to be with Max and help her encounter Vecna. Robin, Steve, Jonathan, and Nancy are going into the
Watergate.
Into Watergate. They're going through the trailer.
They're going through the trailer gate because it's less wet.
Trailer gate, and to go actually fight Vecna. And Dustin and Eddie are going into the Upside Down to draw these creatures away from Vecna's house so that the other four have less of an obstacle to get to Vecna and kill him. So this all starts to work out fine, but of course there's all these problems that start to happen. Number one being, in the real world, the popular basketball player shows up to Vecna's or Victor Creel's house and sees Lucas there with Max. Max is in her trance.
Because they've identified Mike and Lucas and Erica as part of the Hellfire Club.
Now this popular basketball player assumes that Lucas is actually also one of the bad guys, just as bad as Eddie. And he pulls a gun on Lucas and is like, get her out of that trance or I'm going to shoot you. And so Lucas dodges it and they end up fighting. So that slows down Lucas's ability to help Max in that situation, because the one thing we haven't talked about yet is music. Well, we did talk about it, but Max has been using this Kate Bush song to basically insulate her and keep Vecna from knowing where she is this whole time. And they're going to use this to pull her out right before she gets taken in the house. But this stupid basketball player ends up stepping on her headphones and essentially breaking her CD. Another basketball player... Cassette. Yeah. Another basketball player is out with incapacitating Erica, which also slows down the process. What else happens? Oh my gosh. So, another hero moment. Dustin and Eddie do a great job drawing these bat-like creatures away from the house.
Dimobats. We haven't even talked about Dimobats.
Yeah, they're just, part of the hell of Upside Down. And at first they just use Eddie playing the most metal guitar solo ever. But then when they're about to go back through Trailer Gate, Eddie cuts the sheet they use to get back and forth, and he's deciding he can do more to draw them away and give the other 4 more time. So Eddie stays in the Upside Down, hops on a bike, takes off, drawing them farther away from everybody else, and in the end ends up sacrificing himself to the cause. Dustin has to watch the whole thing. Dustin's there as soon as it's over, and Eddie essentially anoints Dustin to be a protector in the real world and keep the mantle going.
We haven't talked about Henry's explanation to Eleven of who he was as a kid.
And we're out of time. Okay, so...
Henry admits to Eleven in her vision, it's probably the last episode, that he's Victor Creel's son. And so he was the one who essentially did the killings.
We thought that Victor Creel also thought that his son died along with his wife and daughter. But then
we find out he really just kind of ran out of power.
He had been acquiring these powers. Henry, Victor Creel's son, is the one who killed his own mother, killed his own sister, was about to kill his father, but his father, again, had that song on him. That was enough to be able to insulate him
this little mantle radio.
It insulated from Henry's powers, and Henry was so young, he'd actually passed out from using his powers. So Henry gets taken away and put in a lab for special kids, which turns out to be Brenner's lab. And
he was the first one. He was the first patient.
Yep, patient 001. But he immediately feels like a prisoner, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't like it there. And
part of his whole deal is that the world was created for animals or creatures, and the humans are kind of a parasite.
Pest. Yeah, a pestilence.
And so part of his motivation is to rid the world of people, so that kind of the natural way that things are supposed to be can kind of take over the world. And he was especially fascinated with these extremely venomous spiders.
Black widow spiders in his house that he essentially befriended.
So that's what happened. He explained to Eleven who he was as a kid. As Eleven throws him up against the wall and essentially banishes him from the lab, he kind of disintegrates into particulate and goes into this dimension that I think we know from the play, whatever that play is called, that it's called Dimension X, that it's kind of this in-between world. But he essentially loses his human form through the toxicity and the heat and everything, and he develops this kind of viney skin,
exoskeleton,
like we see that Vecna actually is. And that's when he starts to gather kind of his power in the Upside Down, and he's kind of holed up in the top of the Creel house as he's kind of receiving energy from these vines that are...
And when he is in his period of transition from being Henry / Patient 01 to being partially burnt as a Vecna, he becomes an explorer, he says, and he's in this Middle Earth or Upside Down type place, and he sees demo dogs for the first time.
Yeah.
And he actually is like, this is a perfect world. It's not. Then he sees what we now call the Mind Flayer. He sees this giant swirling tornado spider. A spider is probably significant to him since he loves Black Widows. Yes. And so it's also part of his lore that this is how he wants the whole world to be.
And so Vecna is almost ready to kill Max. He's got her. She's lifted up. He's in the trance. But in Russia, Hopper lures the Demodogs into this kind of Colosseum arena thing. Mm-hmm. He has given Murray a industrial strength flamethrower. Uh-huh. And as the Demodogs are closing in on Hopper and Joyce, Murray rains fire from above and starts burning 3 or 4 or 5 of these Demogorgons all at once. Mm-hmm. That messes everything up for the Upside Down creatures.
Because of the
hive mind. The older kids who were in the Creel's house had been overtaken by vines.
Oh, yeah.
The Demobats killed Eddie. Mm-hmm. Max is now no way to get out of the curse. And Vecna has invaded Max's memory and has now captured 11 in her version of the piggybacked trance. Uh-huh. Side note, my favorite line in the entire show happens in this scene where Max is confused as to how 11 is there. And she goes, I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer.
Oh, yeah. Just very matter of fact, once again.
and Max goes, what?
Yeah.
In all of this. So everything looks, at every storyline, it looks like all hope is lost. Because even Hopper and Joyce are being closed in on by these Demogorgons. And Vecna tells 11, your friends are going to lose. I see them. They think they're sneaking up on me in the Upside Down, but I see them. Mm-hmm. And I've got Max, and like everything is going wrong for everybody. None of the storylines are going to have a happy ending. But because Murray has the flamethrower and he kills these Demodogs, burns them alive with the flamethrower, the vines that are capturing Robin and Steve and Nancy let go.
And 11.
And 11, yes.
Because she's been
wrapped up in the kind of upside down house layer
and
too.
Vecna says, "I want you to watch."
Yes,
as I kill your friend Max.
And part of that too is that Mike is talking to 11 in the pizza dough freezer at the thing, and he's like, 11, I love you.
Yes,
he reveals to her all of this, and so 11 gets a little bit of additional power from Mike, reassuring her,
"You gotta fight. You gotta fight.
You gotta fight. You gotta fight." And he says "fight" so many times. So Murray messes the hive mind with the Demodogs, which allows Steve and Robin and Nancy to be free. 11 gets help from Mike to kind of free herself, and then 11 throws Vecna up against one of these spires in his little world. Then while he's got Max is up, her arms break, her legs break, and her eyes are about to go in. And in that moment, in the Upside Down, these Molotov cocktails that the older kids had made are thrown at Vecna, distracted in the Upside Down. And it saves Max just before she is actually killed. And Nancy takes a homemade sawed-off shotgun and just blasts Vecna like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, at a close range.
After he is literally in flames from the Molotov cocktails. And Nancy shoots him through the attic window out onto the ground. And allows Max to not be killed, although she is mangled and unresponsive. And then
she's not unresponsive at the beginning. She falls into Lucas's arms essentially, and she's just like, I can't see.
That's true.
And then she kind of goes under.
Yes.
And Lucas is just bawling and like, oh my god.
And so they think that they've won. And 11 is successful with kind of banishing Vecna even in his little lair. Then Max is unresponsive. And Lucas is trying to get her, stay with me. And in the Upside Down, Nancy and Steve and Robin hear the grandfather clock chime 4 times. It's only been chiming 3 times so far. Chrissy, Fred, and Patrick, I think was his name, the other victim. But then we get the impression Max actually dies. And they're like 4 chimes. And at that moment, all these gates start opening up everywhere. Vecna has won. the visions that Nancy had seen of these gates opening up all over the place. Like Town Hall is split in two. This massive earthquake rattles Hawkins. Every gate, the trailer park, the water gate, and the
road gate.
The road gate where Fred was killed are all splitting in each direction and just overtaking Hawkins with these gates because Max has died. In the piggyback, 11 and Max are Eleven's talking to Max, and she says no. 11 refuses to let Max die.
Yeah.
We don't see anything, but we learn kind of in the epilogue of the episode that Max actually kind of came back a little bit.
Yep.
But she's not back. Like, she's still in a coma. She's still unresponsive.
And 11 somehow in that middle world was able to use her powers. I think she just like places her hand on her chest or something. And in that, wherever 11 was able to send enough energy or supernatural power back into the real world and essentially revive Max.
Yeah.
Not bring her. Max is still in a coma, we find out.
It literally just gave her life,
conscious
just life.
And they go to visit her hospital, and Lucas is like, they don't know when she'll come out of the coma, if ever.
She's in 4 casts because every bone in her limbs were broken.
Yep.
But
oh my God.
Then it's like several days later, kind of the epilogue, and the official story is that there was this massive 7.4 earthquake.
Yep.
And that's why there's all these fissures everywhere. And there's like
22 people dead.
Makeshift shelter, like a Red Cross shelter at the Hawkins High School gym. And Steve and Robin go to like donate some stuff, and they volunteer. Dustin, injured through going through the gate so many times, he like falls and busts his ankle. Finds Eddie's uncle, right? Uncle. And explains, because Eddie's uncle is like trying to put up a missing poster for Eddie, but it keeps getting defaced because the town still thinks that Eddie did all these murders.
Right.
And Dustin was like, "Hey, Mr. Munson, I was with Eddie when the
when
earthquake
he died,
hit."
and he died a hero.
Yeah, when the earthquake hit, he actually died. He gives his uncle like his necklace with the guitar pick on it, and he's like, not only was he innocent, I know he was innocent, but he actually died a hero. Because he saved. He doesn't explain to him, but
the supernatural.
And the uncle's very proud and very emotional that he's dead. But then I think the kids also all get reunited at Hopper's cabin. 11 sees Hopper for the first time because Hopper and Joyce make it back to Hawkins, and Argyle goes to look at mushrooms and meditate, and this particulate starts falling. And we first see it at the Wheeler's house, and Holly's like, "Mommy, it's snowing." And it starts happening.
That's such a Holly line.
It starts happening at Hopper's cabin. It starts happening at the high school. Everybody in town starts paying attention to it, and a growing storm is coming. And everybody at the high school goes to the windows to look at it. And Nancy and Ted look very worried. But the last scene of the episode of the season is Hopper and Joyce with all of the kids, young and old,
out in a field.
Walk from Hopper's cabin out into a field, kind of from a elevated vantage point, and see Hawkins burning. And they come up to a part of fascinating too. The music is the Stranger Things theme. Then they walk up to a line on the grass where everything is alive and then dead, and flowers are dying. That's crazy. Everything is dying.
A giant fissure.
Dying in front of them. And we hear a modulation in the music and a different theme that we've not heard yet before. And they all stand there on the edge of the world as Hawkins burns in front of them. And now there is no veil between the upside down and the real world.
Ooh, that's a good
Everything is here.
That's a good way to put
particulate
it.
in the air, everything's dying, and it's not the upside down, it's the real world.
Mm-hmm.
But because all these gates are open,
Yep.
it's... And Vecna did not die, so to speak, when he was on fire and fell out. The kids come out of the front door in the upside down in that scene, and he's gone. He's not there dead. He's
Right.
gone.
We don't know what that means. That's happened so many times before where there's where someone was killed, there's just a shadow of where they were.
Yep. The only person we know died for real was Bob Newby because we saw 12 scenes of it.
Oh, what a heart that
The
guy
man of
had.
1,000 deaths.
He had a tasty heart. I mean, a good heart.
It must have been tasty because they
They just
ate it
stomped
so
and
many
stomped.
times.
So yeah.
All right, there's your 2-minute recap
of all
every episode.
34 episodes.
Jeez. Well, if you took the time to watch all of this, we appreciate it. And now you're caught up. Now you know everything. You can watch season 5 tomorrow or whenever you decide to watch it.
You're as excited as we are. Sorry if we got things out of order, but I think we really did hit the key
Yeah.
overall arcing storyline of these good versus evil tensions and secretive labs and misinformed governments and, you know, just why can't they leave Hawkins alone?
Yeah. And this is a perfect opportunity to comment, too. If you're a super fan and
Come
you
on
come to
now.
this and
This
you're
is the
like,
time.
these guys suck at this, tell us. Give us a thumbs down for all. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just tell us what you think.
Uh-huh.
Thumbs up if you think we did halfway decent. Thumbs down if not. I don't care. Just comment. Tell us what you think. And then subscribe because not only are you going to find great content on Stranger Things, we'll continue to post shorts and all that. We're going to continue to recap season 5 as it comes out. At some point or another, we'll do that. And then we've got, follow this channel so that you can find other podcasts that we do
Yeah.
in the future. We've got more coming.
Got some other ideas out there,
Yeah.
so
Not Stranger Things related at all.
come be thoughtful nerds with us. That's all we're asking.
Yeah. Well, thanks for this coming along with us on this journey. We are not done. We'll continue to do episode recaps of season 4 and season 5, episode by episode in the future. Certainly episode or season 5.
Got to complete it.
But yeah, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time here on the Hawkins Observer.